Welcome to the G52 podcast, your Horus Heresy safe space, a place for bullshit and bad hobby advice. So if you want to join in, like our Facebook page, Geno52 Podcast, join our Facebook group, Geno52 Podcast, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Geno52 Podcast, or drop us an email, Geno52podcast@gmail.com. Always remember, the Geno52 Podcast does contain adult humour.
Hello and welcome back to episode 8 of the Geno. It's been a bit of a break. We've had a nice Christmas. I've drunk a lot of things. I've eaten quite a bit of things. I've slept. I've done all those kind of things, which is pretty cool. So welcome back, guys. I'm joined by Stu, as always.
Hello, everyone.
Cool. So we're back.
I think I've done everything you listed there, apart from sleep. That's been eluding me for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
It's been eluding you for the last sort of 12 months, isn't it?
Yeah, but an extra special amount the last sort of all through Christmas or so. I've been in my toddler's room most of the night on each night. It's been good. I like sleeping on the floor. It's good. It's good fun.
Yeah, I heard it's really good for old people to sleep on beanbags.
Yes, it is. It's great for my back and my shoulder. I like creaking around in the morning. So it's been awesome. But didn't stop me enjoying all the food and drink. In fact, drink was good because it helps you to. Lots of large whiskies help you to sleep on a floor.
That's
in a toddler's bedroom.
That's the best way to sleep on a floor, I found. I've got quite a lot of experience of drinking a lot of whiskey and sleeping on floors. It definitely works.
It doesn't surprise me at all, Tom.
I seem to be developing a reputation. I mean, it's not unjustified, is it?
I think your epic closeout section a few episodes ago, and the fact that I've recorded a couple on my own, even though it was just because it was late and you weren't drunk. But I think people are thinking Tom's fallen off his chair again. Stu's had to close the show down.
Close the show up while I'm snoring on the floor. No, I've usually keeled over because I've died. So I've done that. So. No, after the drinking half a bottle of rum recording session, I've been put on orders not to drink quite so much. But anyway, I'm sure we can drink a lot. So good Christmas and New Year then. I think we've all done pretty well. So what have you been up to then? When did we last record? 6 weeks ago?
Probably. Maybe 5. What have I been up to? Mainly Christmas stuff. I've not done an awful lot. I've not played any games or anything because as Christmas comes around with all the family commitments, my mum came to stay for about 10 days, which kind of puts a lot of hobby on hold. And my wife's work, she works. It's probably the busiest month of the year for her because she works a lot more, which means that I've more time with looking after the little man. So it sounds a bit depressing, really. So in that sense, no games played, but still been cracking on with the hobby. Recently I've started work on a Legion commission, doing some Emperor's Children. That's been nice after painting some other systems. Did a Blood Bowl team, that was a bit of fun. Did some more War Machine stuff, but it's nice to get back on the Heresy train commission wise as well, and got quite a bit booked up in the first quarter. But painting purple at the moment and enjoying it. Really, really good fun.
Yeah. How is the work on the painting the real doll coming along? Have you got the flesh tones?
He's
right?
not sent. There's still some still some things to be sent, and I think that might be coming in the second package. I'll work on making it as realistic as possible. In fact, my son. Maybe it's because it's Friday the 13th we're recording today, but my son today decided to go a bit Emperor's Children on us. He came up to me and he said, "Daddy, poo." Have you pooed? Have you? Yes. And then I looked down at his tummy where he's wiping his hands, and he'd reached into the back of his nappy and pulled out a large handful of it and then wiped it on his stomach. That was the first time he's done that. Awesome.
Just happens to coincide with the painting the Emperor's Children.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a purple hoodie he was wiping it on as well, so we don't know what that says.
Have you got? There's a warp gate. You're going to go up later in tonight and just find Demonettes dancing around in his room.
Well, I'll get the big elastic bands out for those clippers. It'll be all right. It'll keep me occupied for the small hours.
Are they like lobsters where all the strength is in closing? They can't open them.
I'm hoping so.
As long as you lasso those demonettes, you're all right.
Definitely hoping so. I'm trying to think what else have I done hobby-wise, moving away from before that gets any more close to my. I'm trying to think what I'd done when we last recorded.
I don't know.
Solar Rocks is all primed and built and ready to go, so it's literally ready to paint when I have any spare time to paint any of my own things. So I grab an hour here or there and start putting some airbrush down on the tanks. I think because that'll get me. I tend to do those a bit quicker. And once I've got a couple of the tanks done, I'll get that kind of motivation to try and make time. At the moment, I spend so much time sort of between doing the boring family chores type of stuff, then spending quality time with the family and then doing other people's work, that it's hard to I think sometimes I don't I'm really bad at making sure I do my own things. I think I'll grab a couple of hours, I'll go out into the man cave, and instead of picking up my own stuff, I'll pick up some work. And I don't always need to do that. I think sometimes I've done my work, my dedicated work hours that week. I'm not behind, but I still, think, oh, that's not finished, so need to do it. And that's probably where the crossover between working as your hobby and hobby as your work goes the other way, which is fine if you've not got your own stuff to do. But I need to kind of make sure that I put a couple of hours a week by at least, just so things progress. Because to be honest with you, I want to play them. It's not that I don't want to play my fists anymore, but I know that if I had them ready to play, I'd be sort of itching to play a bit more and trying to arrange some more games and things. So
it's getting the ball rolling. Once you get started,
absolutely.
You get the first bits done, and you want to get on then, don't you?
Yeah, I do that every time. As soon as I start doing stuff, I want to get finished. And it's just at a stage at the moment where it's easy to do something else. But maybe we'll see something move on there soon. But it's sitting on the edge of my gaming table, all lined up, staring at me. In fact, we had to move it out of the way, didn't we, when we tried to play a game of Zone Mortalis, but you forgot to bring any of your infantry.
Oh, that was there. Yeah, I turned up to shoes. We were trying to play some Zone Mortalis. Yeah, we'll get a Zone Mortalis game in. And I'm stood in, and for weeks I've had all my models in my Crusader case, my GW Crusader case, and it must have been like earlier in the week I decided to rejig how I transported everything, put all my infantry into my old GW figure case. And I went to play Stews, and I'm getting ready, and I thought, oh, it's all right, I'll just grab my Crusader case. Everything's in there. I'll take all the tanks and stuff. I don't need them, but everything's in there. Got that. Got over to Stews, opened the case up, got the Dreadnought out, and went, oh, fuck, all the infantry's in my figure case. Oh, shit, Stu, I've got a Dreadnought, and that's it. So we just
I started to get some of my models out for you to use, and it was going to be yellow on yellow. It was going to get really stupidly confusing, and we just went. I think we were still going to do it, weren't we? But we never deployed. We just
and then we just
kept talking.
The beer started flowing, and it was like, oh shit, it's 2 hours and we haven't even deployed yet.
Let's just knock it on and open another beer. But it was a good effort. Yeah. We nearly got a game in.
We nearly got a game in. That's pretty good going. Yeah.
So what about you then? So what you've done loads. You've been a hobby machine since we last.
I've changed my job slightly at the moment, and I'm working from home a lot, and I have the opposite problem to you. I come and sit at my desk to work, and I'm sat next to my painting desk, and instead of doing the work I'm supposed to be doing, I pick up the hobby stuff and paint things. And I shouldn't really say that. Well, my boss doesn't listen to this at the moment. But yeah, so I've been pottering away. I finished off the last few bits for my Ultramarines for now. That's got up to about 3.5k. I painted the Charybdis, a couple of quad mortars, the Melter Gun Squad. What else did I finish up on those? And the Dorado Dreadnought, wasn't it? I painted up my Dorado. Yeah, so that's kind of rounded them off for the moment. I've got 3.5k of them sat there now, and they're at a point where I can play not a lot of lists. I've got a list, and I've got some variation on it, just tweaks, but they're at a good point now where I can sort of I can leave them and say, right, they're there now. So I started my Atropos, which if you're on our social medias, you'll have seen me spamming pictures on that, because it's been a bit of a journey of a discovery. It's I'm trying to think. I reckon it's probably about the same size as a Storm Eagle, but it's a lot more intricate, and I'm doing a lot different stuff on it. I've done a full metallic scheme with clears that I've not done before. So I've put quite a lot of time and effort into that. I've been fiddling about with that and then doing that, and I'm in the middle of debating what to do really next. I'm in a bit of a, we've had a few chats about this, haven't we?
I think, well, you go to talk about your actual first, is that you're talking about it's a different kind of model. You've got a lot less large flat areas. You obviously got the armour plates, but once you remove those, you've got it's kind of your main body of your big robot, haven't you? Really, so it's kind of.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be generally going to be metal colour, so you've got that challenge of making the metal interesting and not just a flat silver or a flat gunmetal colour. You want to sort of build layers and textures, which you'd normally do through pre-shading and highlighting, and then adding layers on the airbrush on flat surfaces. So. Yeah, you've done a really nice job of it, though. It looks awesome. It looks really good. And it's probably nice for you to have a bit of a break from painting blue and paint something a bit different.
That was one of the reasons for doing it, was to go, right, I've painted a shitload of blue. I've basically spent 6 to 9 months painting blue, if you discount my 40k stuff, which we don't talk about. So yeah, it was like, I'll push on to the Astros. And it sounds easy to start with. Paint the frame silver, paint the armour panels. But you paint the frame silver, or gunmetal, and you go, that looks really boring. What am I? And it's amazing the amount of work, like you said, because there's no real, you can't build a pre-shade into it, so you have to build the layers up through layers and highlights of silver and different levels of silver to build it up, and then the washes and the oils to try and give it some contrast and give it some interest. I'm turning around to look at it and then pick him up and bring him over. But I also spent a lot of time on the pose, because you see a lot of Atroposes and Knights sort of stood up and the arms are where the movement is. And I thought, I'm going to really mess with the legs. And I'd not built a Cerastus Knight before, and I just saw the bits and went, oh yeah, it's totally posable. It can go anywhere. And I built it all, and then tried to fit the armour plates and was like, all right, none of the armour plates fit properly because I've bent it and moved it too far. I have individually heated and moulded and bent the panels to fit without making them look warped. So they look like they're the extremes of their movement without looking like, someone's deformed them to make it work. And geez, every panel's had tweaks on it, and multiple tweaks on it to make it work right. But he's sort of striding forward, swinging around. He's whipping his las cutter into somebody's face, and the grav gun is pointing off to the side, blowing some sucker's head off over there. But yeah, I've really pushed myself in my modelling and my painting on it, and I've just bent the banner that hangs off his cock end, his bell end banner, to make it look like it's sweeping out behind him, because I really wanted to make him look like he's like charging forward and dynamic, because you see them kind of stood there just pointing their guns at things quite regularly, and I was like, no, this guy's running across the field and he's sort of swinging around and he's twisting, and so I wanted everything to give it that kind of scale and movement and stuff as well. So yeah, it's been good fun. The Astropos.
You quite often see them in the power gamer pose, don't you? The 1 foot up on something, your arm on your knee kind of thing, and that kind of just defeated this tank and I've got my foot on it kind of pose, and it looks cool, but it's you see it a lot, so doing something different with it's quite cool. I saw something on Twitter today, actually. I didn't make a note with a name, but someone had posed a Knight and a Warhound Titan. The Warhound Titan was running, and the movement on it was amazing, the best I've seen. It really looked like it was running. They must have done so much work to it, because you couldn't naturally pose it in that way. I should have saved the pictures. I'll see if I can find it later and post it up in our Gino group. Really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So I've done that. I've been doing a shitload of going to events recently. I've had a fucking good week this week, actually, haven't I? Did I tell you about the lottery?
Have you won the lottery?
Yeah, I've won the lottery twice this week.
Each time, is it, or is it?
I won £2. I won £2.60 at the beginning of the week, and I won a lucky dip. And I thought, that's pretty good going. That's gone pretty well. And then I kind of topped it off today, didn't I?
Bit better than
funny.
Your £2.50 win on the lottery. But...
Yeah, so you've probably seen around about the No Retreat event in Gibraltar, the Horus Heresy event, and David, our friend David from the 30k channel, ran a competition, and I woke up this morning with a message from him going, guess what? You've won. You're coming to Gibraltar. oh fuck, I better tell the wife I'm going to Gibraltar. And how do I break it to her that I'm going for a weekend bender in Gibraltar playing toy soldiers and I'm not taking her abroad this year? Oh, apart from skiing, I am paying to go skiing, but yeah, I'm pissing off to this. Yeah, in the first quarter of the year, I'm getting 2 holidays in. Yeah, see you later.
that'll come back to bite you on the arse.
So yeah, that was cool. Oh, I'm going to get stung for something. But yeah, big shout out to David over at the 30k channel and Stephen over at SM Battle Reports. Looking forward to it. So yeah, it's been a pretty... Oh, it got even better actually today. And I don't think I told you this. I got a text from our buddy Duncan. And he said, Forge World orders arrived. So I've got my shiny Special Snowflake Ultramarine shields finally. I have 10 of the buggers. And they are very pretty. But I'm now making the decision about, do I just build them all up as the Breacher squad, or do I potentially? We discussed our Golden Demon entries for because that's the other thing we did. We bought tickets for Warhammer Fest, didn't we?
And we couldn't get tickets for the weekend, and we couldn't do our painting stuff then. We've actually got tickets and day passes from the wives, so we'll be planning painting entries and heading down to that. We're not going to win anything, but it's just fun taking part and it's hanging out and having a look at all the entries.
Yeah, it's giving us something to do. So yeah, I'm debating whether I use a couple of those shields in the plan that for stuff I'm going to do. Problem is, if I do that, I can't put my Breacher squad together, and I have to buy another pack of shields.
It sounds like if you're going to use them, you're going to have to buy another pack of shields anyway. So I would build your Breacher squad, and if you decide that you want to do that for your entry, then just order another pack.
Yeah, the only problem is they're £20 for a pack of 5.
Yeah, they're not cheap, but if it's for an entry and you've got it all planned out and you're really happy that that's what you want to do and you know what it's going to look like and what it's going to work, then you spend the money on it, I suppose. I don't know what to do again now because what I was going to do is I've just gone off the idea and I don't want to do anything I'm half-hearted about, so I've got to think of something.
I've got a vision in my head. I've got a picture in my mind of what I want to do. I've sort of got it picked together, but it's like I know the models I want and what I want it to look like. It's then the details of what exactly bits am I going to use for that and that and that I'm tying down now, and whether because the other thing I was thinking is I might buy. I don't know if I want to use all my Breachers to have these special snowflake shields, or whether I just buy normal Breacher shields as well. And sort of spread the special ones, amongst sergeants and special characters and stuff as well.
That's an option, isn't it?
Like talk about head and torso upgrades, don't we? Not throwing them on every model, using them mixed in with normal armor marks. So I may scavenge a few out of this pack and then buy some standard Breacher shields.
That might work. How many are you going to build? What's your plan? How many Breachers are you planning to build?
Plan is to do 20. So I've got 2 squads of 10, because that'll give 2 squads of 10 or 1 squad of 15 or 1 squad of 20. So I've got some flexibility, and it seems like a good number to sort of
makes sense.
To give me flexibility in how I deploy them out. So I'm thinking of doing that. How much are the Breachers?
So I've got 30 Breachers for the fists, and I don't think I've ever used all 30 in a game. Even playing 2-5. I always find that they're so expensive that I end up running squads of 12 or 13 just so I can get other stuff in, and so I've never yet managed to squeeze them all in. Where you start missing out, you end up with, you want to get lots of different units in, don't you? You want to try and play with all your toys, and if you find that if you run with a couple of big squads, you won't do it. So I think going for 20 is probably the right amount for a non-Stone Gauntlet Imperial Fist player. I think having one unit of 20, so you can, like you say, run 2 types of 10 in Zone Mortalis or something like that would be useful. But you're probably only going to run 10 or 15 in an alternative list. Maybe in a 2-5 or a 3K game when you're shoving something a bit different in there. You'll be wanting to buy a Spartan again now to run them in.
Don't go there. Don't go there. I have just added 3 packs of Breacher shields to my car on Forge World stupidly. I don't want to spend £105 on Breacher shields at the moment. Yeah, actually, do you know what? People have been saying, and I suppose they're entire models, aren't they? I was looking at the Breacher squad, the Mark III Breacher squad, but that's 5 dudes for £35. does that actually include?
It should include the shields at that price, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it includes the whole squad, so the dudes as well. Yeah. So the bolters, the heads, the torsos, whereas the stupid special snowflake ones are 20 quid just for the shields. But I'm sure you could buy the shields just on their own.
You used to be able to. But I was looking today at we were writing lists for something later in the show.
Yeah.
I was looking today at because I know the prices went up for a couple of tanks and things, and I couldn't find the 3-pack of Demios Rhinos. I only had them individually, so I don't know if that was just a glitch or I couldn't find it, or it's gone. I don't know if the option's gone. I mean,
I think it was a bundle for a while, wasn't it?
For a very long time. It was over a year, I think. But I just couldn't see it, and obviously that was quite good value, wasn't it, picking up all three? Because they end up being 111 quid for 3 now. And what was it? Was it 95 or something for?
Yeah. We I picked some up with George. No, there it is. Legion Demos Rhino set, 100 quid. I found it straight away.
I searched it earlier. It doesn't. Maybe my search foo was down.
This is what happens when you let tired dads do research. Yeah, they're 100 quid for 3, which is 33 quid each. Whereas I think we looked in there, and they're 37 pound each normally.
4 quid saving on each one is pretty good.
Yeah. So what else have I been doing? I've been really busy, but yeah, I've signed up to a bunch of events. I've painted some models, played quite a few games. I've got my ass handed to me by a Warhound Titan. I've realised that my list does not deal with Titans well because I've got lots of strong shooting, but it's not very long ranged. So yeah, I got brutalised by that. I haven't actually got that many games in compared to what I normally get in with Christmas and things eating up time. But I had a really good game with Rob last week. We played 40 plus infantry models each, heavy sports squads, Galvorback, Ultramarines vet squads, loads of infantry on the table, and it was a really, really fun game. I mean, Rob's a cool dude. Played him quite a bit before. He's got some Emperor's Children, some Sons Horus, some Word Bearers. He's definitely a dirty traitor. But it was really interesting because it definitely, having that many infantry changed the effectiveness of some units. So he had a 5-man heavy bolter squad, and they were a pain in the ass because they just hid in cover at the back, firing those shots out, and with so many infantry targets to hit, they were devastating. 15 heavy bolter shots coming in. And stuff. Yeah, it was brutal. And it really changed the feel of the game, and it was a really fun game actually. We're playing quite an infantry heavy game, so that was good fun.
Something you don't see a lot in our meta either, do you? Because you think of the legions running heavy bolters are going to be the Dark Angels or the Fists because of the bonus they get on the ballistic skill. And I've never run them because even though that's a nice option, they're always slightly better options, and I'd already had a lot of infantry filled up with breaches and things. So yeah, it's good. He seems to build lots of sort of different lists, doesn't he? So it's good to see. It's nice to see that it's not all
it was really good fun.
Things you see or hear about on the internet.
His Praetor did do the most 80s cheesy sci-fi word bearers thing ever, where Gilliman and his suzerain squad bundled out of their Storm Eagle, charged into his vet squad with his Praetor hiding in it. The chaplain challenged him, took a wound or two off him, but failed to kill him. Gilliman and the suzerain annihilated the veteran squad, just took everybody out, left only the Praetor and the apothecary standing. They then failed their leadership on 3d6 and then fell back. I didn't manage to sweep them, but the Praetor essentially threw all his guys in front of him, let them all get massacred, and then ran away and hid in the trees for the rest of the game. And I sat there, I looked at Rob, and I was like, his Galvorback were behind where Gilliman was in my lines, and it was like they were eating vet tac squads. 5 Galvorback just went into 2 vet tac squads over 2 turns and just ate them alive. Just tough 5, strength 5 demons with saves, and they were just insane. So I was like, well, I can't really chase his Praetor down for Slay the Warlord. I've got to deal with his Galvor back before they eat him. So I went the other way, and his Praetor just went, I'm just going to stand in these trees and hide for the rest of the game and let everybody else die. It was brilliant. It was well good fun. Yeah, and then his chaplain. Was it his chaplain? Oh, I can't remember. One of his characters who we had a 3-round Astartes bitch slapping fest with 2 tax squads in close combat with each other, where essentially, they do like 2 wounds each and then save them all the time. And then I ran my Melter squad had come in, nuked his Sicarian, got shot to pieces, ran away. 1 guy was left on the table. He rallied, charged into the combat as well in like turn 4, and promptly that turn, my 8-man squad with the Melter guy ran in, lost combat, then got swept by his chaplain, and it was like, oh, great, well done, dude. You've literally just your squad turned up, killed a tank, got shot, you ran away, then you charged into combat to help and lost the combat for everybody. It was hilarious. It was a really good, funny game.
About. Absolutely, you need to. I suppose it made up for the game you had the previous week where you kind of you lost by 2, hadn't you? But
I'd lost before I deployed. Well, I lost in deployment when we deployed. And James had got his Warhound with the triple the D gun and the plasma gun. We deployed long ways up the table, and I measured it all out and went, none of my quad mortars and my Dorado and my Venator can hit you. Hit the Warhound without like having to charge forward the first turn, put all my stuff out in the open, and they'll get annihilated. And yeah, his turn. He went first. Shot half my army off the board in the first turn. I failed to kill anything in return. Couldn't get my Melter gun squad in around his drop pod, around his Warhound, because he'd wrapped them in infantry and deployed it in the corner. And yeah, I just got annihilated. And by the end of his turn 2, so the 3rd player turn, I called it and said, there's nothing I can do. I can't get to the Warhound, and I'm just going to bring my reinforcements on, and they're just going to get shot off the table every turn. But it was fine. He did what he was supposed to do with the Warhound. He put it in the corner. He bubble wrapped it to protect it against my Melter guns, and he blew me off the table, which is what Titans do. So I just think my list is not geared up to deal with that. I run a lot of infantry. I think my list is 45 to 50 infantry models in it, with a few tanks with it. So I'm quite infantry heavy, and I don't think I have the killing power. I mean, Gilliman is a beast, but he's not going to take down a Titan on his own. Lords of War.
In certain situations, isn't he? You're always going to come across. It's a bit of a mismatch in styles of armies where you had everything that was going to be an issue. I suppose it depends on the scenario a little bit as well, but his army is set up to be like a Greek wedding, isn't it? Just flying plates everywhere, and that's pretty much what it does.
Yeah, he basically sits there with fine china and just throws it in your face until you give in. But yeah, no, it was fine. Like I say, it was no problem. I was glad. It was good to go up against it. I'm taking this list to a couple of events, and I now know that because on paper I probably should have been able to deal with it with a Dorado, a Venator, and 3 quad mortars. The quad mortar should have taken the Void Shields down. The Venator should have hit it and stun locked it, because it had 2 blast weapons, and once I stun locked it, it shouldn't have been able to shoot. But it was a table, there wasn't cover enough for me to get close. It was quite an open table. I couldn't get in close enough to do the damage I needed to do. So it was fine. It was what happened. It was a good test out for my list. And good to go up against them. I've never faced a Titan before, so it was quite fun with that. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool. What else have I done? Oh, I've had a good read of the Unification Wars supplement, which was pretty cool. Dude called Graham Saunders popped up on the internet a little while back and went, I've made a Unification Wars supplement. It's really cool. Would you like to see it? And of course, I went, yes. Tim from the iHorus went, I think I don't know how you type it, but he did just make the noise of a man jizzing onto the front of his computer. Went, oh, yeah! So he took that quite quickly. So we had a good read through that. And yeah, some really cool stuff in there. So he's got it's all set on Terra, Techno Barbarians, all that kind of stuff. I've got to admit, I had a brief skim read of it. I've had a good flick through it. I haven't sat down and read it in detail, but if people want it, obviously I've got a copy. If you shoot us a message, I can email it over to you, or find Graham Saunders. He's on quite a few groups. I'm pretty sure he's in the IR Horace's guys Facebook group. So give him a. But yeah, there's some really cool stuff in there about making the various things. He's even done his own psycho charts. There's demons in there. Playing the games in the Age of Unity. I mean, fair play. He has gone for it. This is a complete game. He's made up his own guns. He's got, there's different bits in there, sluggers. Geez, yeah. I mean, this is detail. He's written his own. A lot of them are based. You got your Volkites, you got your heavy. Fucking hell, no, he's really gone to town on it. What have you got here? A vibro blade. I'm pretty sure I brought my wife one of those once, and that's why she doesn't talk to me anymore. She doesn't need me.
You have to get on it. Comes equipped with a flashlight as well.
Even better, I'm going to give her a vibro spear for her birthday if she's a lucky woman. But yeah, he's done an amazing job. Forces of Unity. He's written Thunder Warriors. There's fluff. There's army list composition. There's how to put it together. So he's the Forces of Unity army allowances. They can be you can put them. Your army of your Forces of Unity would come from the Cults and Militias, Solar Orcs, and the Crusade era books. And like he's give them different things, and like you can't take armored ceramite and things like that to give it flavour. So you got your basically the Emperor's armies. Can you take the Emperor? The Master of Unity.
Sounds a bit like it. I haven't had a look. I haven't looked at this semester, mate. I haven't looked at it. It sounds amazing. It reminds. I'm thinking Blanche-esque drawings. I'm thinking early Rogue Trader pictures where they had on the battles they had like Marines fighting against Warhammer armies, Marines on square bases and things back in the day. So it's reminded me of poring over those pictures as a teen at the moment. But it sounds really cool. I'll have to get you to send it over so I can have a little flick through.
Yeah. It's really good. There's Techno Barbarians, all kinds. So as you can tell from the way I've just been going through it and going, oh look at that. I haven't really had a good look through it, but I've had a flick and the reason is I got it. I thought, I'll just have a quick look at it. It won't be that much. And I very quickly realised this is a lot in here, and he's gone nuts with it. And it's. I think Tim was saying he's going to try and run it in Australia, and it's going to be like keep it very low points, sort of 1,000-point games, so people can really go nuts on the conversions and really like build themselves something really special, very Blanchian, go the whole hog on it.
That's where the call is. I was just thinking to myself, it's a good thing there isn't a range of models there ready to go, because I think it'd be very hard to ignore it. But as much as I enjoy building all the stuff as well.
Here's something I was thinking of that kind of goes along with that. Been listening to a lot of the Christmas wrap-ups for a lot of the podcasts, and a lot of them have done, what models would you like to see? And a lot of them have come out with, things like Iron Havocs and all those kind of stuff. And I've been thinking about this. One of the things I really like about Heresy is there isn't a full line of models, because it gives you that scope to create stuff. And I'm going to throw something big. Now, Alpha Arius and Dawn, I'm not saying Primarch shouldn't have models. We want those models. Isn't one of the joys of having your army building your idea of these units, these special units? Like, the Ultramarines have got 3 special units: Suzerain, their version of Iron Tyrant Sieges, and their Special Assault Squad. Now, only the Suzerain have got models. Isn't it cool that I can go out and build what I think? And I don't know. I'm all for more models and stuff, but is some of it like it's nice to have the ability to create our own thing?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that one of the issues is with certain things you haven't got the kits you need to make it. or it's too expensive. So your Iron Havocs, all they're doing is, I can't remember which podcast said it, but it's totally right. All they're doing is giving money to Cromlech, aren't they? Where people are buying those little missile launchers. And fair enough if GW were kind of like, okay, well, we don't make it, so yeah, you can use that at our events, but officially the answer's always, well, no, you can't use that bit because it's not real. So I can see where people get a bit funny about that. When it comes to a unit where you can make it out of GW kits, especially using plastic stuff, then absolutely, well, not an issue. Primarchs is a bit different because of the scale. I mean, I kit bashed mine, and I didn't spend too much time on it because I thought, you know, it'd just be my luck. The base model I used a Scriber or Screeboard, I don't know what the correct pronunciation is, but
it was the right scale.
Yes, it was. It was from their sort of fake Primarchs range. That's supposed to be a Perturabo model because I thought the pose was better. But I've seen much better conversions. There's a couple recently, a couple of really good ones made from Guilliman, but I didn't want to spend money on a Primarch costing model to cut it up and repose it, especially knowing my luck. As soon as I did that, 3 months later, the official model would drop as well. Now I'm sure that won't be for a couple of years, but I was kind of put off by doing that. But then I look at these other Dawns and I think that they're so much better than what I've got. But
you don't tend to run Dawn a lot. I mean, you it doesn't stand from the way we talk. You're not that worried about having Dawn in your list. You've got him because you want your Primarch. But
I'd rather run more
you're
units,
equally happy to
be honest with you. If it were up to me, you wouldn't be able to run Primarchs in games under 2.5. That's if I was writing the rules, because I want to see more models on the table. I want to see more units, and when you see them crammed in, and there's not many, you know, they're such a small army list because of it. I think it's fine. I'm not knocking people who are doing it. But I felt like I had to buy him or convert him because our local meta, everyone was buying their Primarchs, and we're playing 2.5, and at 2.5 you're guaranteed that almost everyone that plays 2.5 is going to have a Primarch. And personally, I'd rather people didn't, so I could run more units. And it's just, you know, that's my idea of what I'd prefer against others. And some would say, well, you don't have to Primarch to compete, and you probably don't, but maybe it's just the models I own didn't really work without it. But that's just I quite like the idea of, I mean, I've got Pollux as well, but I don't always use him as Pollux, as long as I just use him as a Praetor or something, and just equip him with the same stuff. But it just depends. But saying that, I like to play 3K every time I played as well. Apart from ZM, I'd rather play bigger games because it doesn't really seem to add much time to the game, that extra 500 points, because you tend to be spending it on a big model or a super heavy, aren't you? You're spending it on a Lord of War. It just allows you to take that on top of your bigger army. So that would be the ideal thing.
Yeah. I mean, I find Guilliman's quite important to my army, but that's mainly because he brings a lot to it. I was thinking about this the other day, and I thought, you know that bitch fight we had with Dawn, me and you and Guilliman and Dawn? You took about 2 or 3 wounds off him, didn't you? I think you're the only person to have taken more than 1 wound off him in maybe 10 games.
Wow.
So he has smashed everybody in the dick so far, Guilliman. But the thing, he is a beast. And actually, I think I was talking to Sean from CZ Initiative, and he was saying in a vacuum, 1-on-1, just on the mass, Guilliman takes most Primarchs bar Horus, and he takes Horus 50-50. So he's pretty nuts. But it's not just about how big a bang he brings. He brings so much to my army as well, you know. I played Duncan's Iron Hands the other week, and I was sat there, and he's got loads of outflanking tanks, and I was like, what do I do about this? Oh, I know what. I've got 3 separate units of quad mortars. I'll give them all Interceptor from Guilliman. Thank you very much. All my quad mortars have got Interceptor. And we rolled up the ambush map, and I deployed in the middle. I got quad mortars pointing to each side of the board, and everywhere he brought a tank on, I fired quad mortars at him as he brought them on the table. I was like, yeah, fuck you. Here's some Sunder shots into your face. Admittedly, he had a lot of Land Raiders and stuff, and Strength 8 against Armour 14, even with Sunder, still a bit of a pain. But I just thought, you know, it gives me so much flexibility to, you know, very much like Mutable Tactics with the Alpha Legion, but I need a Primarch to unlock it. But yeah, it's interesting because I'm very much, you know, the Primarch. I like my Primarch, but one of the things I'm talking about doing next is, you know, do I expand the Ultramarines? And one of the things I would do is drop the Primarch and bring a big tank or something to change up what we're doing. And we are seeing a shift in our little club meta, because I think we've done the Primark thing now. Most people have had their Primark, gone, oh, that's cool, and are now thinking, what's next? And we got a lot of people talking about suborbital strike wings and storm blades and lots of different tanks and things to do. So hopefully that'll shift it around a bit, and people do things. It was quite nice at the last Tarsus event. I think a lot of us were exposed to things we'd not seen before. I know a lot of people had never seen a glaive in the wild before Jason's Space Wolf glaive rolled over everybody. So the casual glaive has become a thing now. So it's cool. It's cool. But anyway, talking of Sweden, because we do. Chris, shut up about open day tickets. I don't want you to get upset again. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and listen to Vangaria. They were giving us some crap about tickets. Chris decided he was going to be a troll for an episode at Christmas. So, yeah, Chris, I heard you. I know what you were saying. And actually, talking of public service announcements, there is one more. I don't know if you saw this earlier, Stu, but the dangers of using friends and family on PayPal in the community. I'm going to skirt around this subject a little bit because I don't want to be a dick and name people, but my friend Michael from from Radio Free as Fan has got dicked over on a trading site trying to buy a Warhound Titan, and he trusted the dude. It's a community thing. He sent the money via PayPal and friends and family. The dude has, for whatever reason, in 3 months not sent him the model, doesn't answer his messages. Michael's had to contact this dude's girlfriend to get a reply out of him and all kinds of shit. But I mean, I don't want to go into the details. If you want to read the details, it's in the South Texas Horus Heresy 30k group. I can't remember what it's. South Texas 30K.
The conversations, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you say conversation. It's Michael sending the dude messages quite nicely, to be fair. I think I'd have lost my shit a lot earlier than Michael did, and it's pretty shitty, but. Like you said, it's a dude in the community. We're a good community. We trust each other. But, it's just a warning. If you buy something from me or if I buy something from you, I'm sending it business. And I think about the only person... I think I pay you business even, Stu. I don't think I pay you friends and family.
What have you paid me for, Tom?
Mainly for supplying my bloody hobby problem. That's all I wanted to say on it. I thought it was just an interesting thing of, we are a community. Please don't be dicks to each other. If something goes wrong with a sale, just say, I'm sorry, dude. I can't go through with it. Refund the money, sort it out. But yeah, I think everybody just be careful. Use the business unless you know the dude and you're prepared to grab him by the willy. I would probably, friends and family, you touch each other. But if you're not going to touch them, don't send them friends and family money. I mean, you do everything commission-wise through PayPal business, don't you?
Well, it's down to what I'd never ask a client to pay me on friends and family. Quite a few do. And it's their choice. One of them asked me the other day, and I said, "Look, it's totally up to you. You are protected either way, but it's up to you." The difference is I'm not in a position very often where I'm buying the miniatures for them. Most people still send me the miniatures, so a lot of the time they're paying a deposit just to book time. But I suppose it still protects them to a certain stage. But I don't know how long it goes on. I don't know how long the protection goes. If someone's booked a slot 3 months down the line, if I then, not that I'd ever do this or have done this, if I had turned around and said, I'm not paying you miniatures anymore, I'm not sure what PayPal's cut-off would be anyway, so I'm not sure in that sense what protection they'd get. But I would never ask anyone. We don't know if this dude did ask Michael to pay by friends and family. We don't know what the details of that is, but
I think Michael did it just
to be nice, because it's a big whack of money, and he said,
to be fair,
or a few dollars or something.
He said I'm a muppet. I send it friends and families. He's admitted that he shouldn't. He's just a bit pissy. But like I said, I don't want to get into blaming people and shitty because I'm not involved in it too much. But it popped up today, and I just thought, PSA, public service announcement. Just look, nobody's going to get annoyed if you send them money unless you know them. They're not. If someone says to you, "Why didn't you send it friends and family?" I just turn and say, "Because you're not my friend and you're not my fucking family." When we've done deals quite a bit, and I'd probably give you a hug in the pub. I might send it friends and family, but until then, I'll probably pay your business and take my protection, because I've been screwed over buying things on eBay. I loathe eBay with a passion. I think I've told you, haven't I, Stu? I'll buy on eBay anything I sell on eBay. My wife sells and she takes a commission, because I've been dicked over selling stuff on eBay so many times by people being total turds about stuff. So I always use PayPal. I always use the most. I like to use protection when I'm dealing with other people. Anyway, yeah, enough of that shit. I didn't want to say, but I just thought it's something that's raised its head, and I just thought I'd mention it. I don't know if, because to be honest, for a while I didn't realise what the difference was until I got dicked over by somebody, and luckily I paid in business, and I read into it and was like, oh, fuck, thank God I paid in business. It's not business, is it? It's goods and services.
Goods and
whatever
services.
The other one is.
That's probably. Is that why you're? That's
I'm
why
forever
you're paying
paying
me
for
for the services. No, there's definitely no goods.
Hey, I had to double check you got my commission date in for me. I booked a month ago. I had to make sure I'm getting dicked about on my commission dates. You'll fit me in when you're free.
Well, yeah, your commission of building your cardboard Zone Mortalis because you can't be bothered.
Yeah. It's not I can't be bothered. It's just it's sat there and I've got models to paint and you're good at it. You did a good job with yours, and I can bribe you with things to do mine for me. When I say bribe, I mean pay you.
You'll be paying me in goods, not services, but goods.
Yeah, I do a good hand shandy if you want to trade for a hand shandy. No, I'll sort you something out.
I'll stick with the hot glue gun.
Very awkward.
Together,
well, your Zone Mortalis table's got a funny glue on it. Yeah, man glue. Oh, right, I'm going to move this section on now. I've talked about jizzing on a cardboard Zone Mortalis table. I think I've ruined that section quite nicely. We've had some messages in, haven't we? We like hearing from you guys.
They probably
send us more messages
because we did get our Christmas episode about, so we probably got a few messages. Just hope that we're still around.
That's mainly because I got drunken in at Christmas, so I'll take the blame for Christmas episode not going on. Basically, my family decided that they're more important than my hobby, despite my protesting to the opposite. But yeah, sorry about the no Christmas episode, but yeah, I don't know if you guys listen to us. You probably listen to some other podcasts. You're probably aware of the Break the Glass episode that Ryan and Michael did on Radio Free Fan, where Ryan went, "Oh, you're all probably gonna run out of podcasts to listen to. So we'll do a rambling 3-hour podcast on random stuff." And I went, "Oh, that's cool." And then everybody dropped 8-hour fucking megasodes. Aya Horace, Kenny did his amazing Combat Phase 10-hour episode, and I'm sitting there going, "Ryan, I can't listen to your Willow talk because I've got so much stuff to listen to." But I did actually listen to Ryan basically describing the whole of the movie.
Really,
Willow.
I love that. I've not listened to this yet, but I do love that film.
Oh, it's worth it because he basically goes, "Ryan, give us a summary of Willow," and 20 minutes later he's talked you through the entire film. It's amazing. And if you listen to that latest episode, he seems to have struck a nerve.
Oh, that's my childhood. I love that film. Awesome.
Yeah, it was a good film, and Ryan proper serial killered it. It was fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, you'll have heard our social media intros on our email address. We like our email address. I'd love a voicemail like Radio Free Fan, but I don't think the English community's up for that. I would just be 25 minutes of Cockneys talking about their penises. So we'll stick to the email for now. So yeah, write into us, guys. I mean, if you want things, you've got stuff you want us to shout out, or you just want to tell us how wonderful we are or how shit we are, let us know. So, shall I pick up the first one, or do you want to do Max? Because you picked up this message.
Let me just get it so I can see it. So I'm facing a microphone at the moment. So Max Cooper. So some of this we're a bit late on because we're a bit late recording. But it says, "Hey guys, will you do me a massive favour and shout out our monthly campaign on your cast? It's Lanth Rift campaign based in Element Games Stockport. It's a narrative-based campaign with optional side quests as well as standard missions for the framework. So it's plagiarised from the Eye of Horrors podcast stuff. So it's open to new players on any month, not just the first. So it starts on the 15th of Jan. So by the time this is out, you'll have probably missed the first month of the campaign. And then on the February the 18th, there's more. So there's optional drinking after each. What's that? I'm reading that wrong. And optional drinking after each one. Optional drinking. I think quite a few people will be taking.
No optional drinking in events. It's mandatory. I'm putting a 5 beer mandatory minimum on our next event. If you don't turn up vaguely paralytic, you're not coming in. Or that might just be me.
Maybe people don't drink as much as when they're gaming as we do. That's the joys of having a gaming club in a pub.
I don't think many TOs drink more than most of the competitors. That generally tends to be our problem.
That's why we think the events go so well. We haven't got a clue, really.
Yeah, I think they're brilliant. I've no idea what has happened for 8 hours, but I've had a cracking time. But yeah, Max is a good dude. He's an MKA. Seems to be fucking everybody now. Every time I see somebody, I'm like, I'm in the MKA Secrets Handshake Club, and every day I pop up and I'm like, oh shit, you're in there as well. Oh shit, you're in there as well. Oh fucking hell, who isn't in there? But yeah, it's cool.
So
go and
Manchester Horus Heresy on Facebook is where you can sign up, and there's extra details on there. So that's where to find them rather than just turning up at Element Games.
No, just turn up and throw models at people. That's what you want to do. Just turn up and go, heresy! And someone will talk to you. I will. But yeah, that's the what's it called? The Northwest Gaming Centre or something, isn't it? The gaming centre. They've done a lot of work up there recently, haven't they, to really revamp.
I've never been up there, but I've heard it was a little bit rough around the edges until Element took over, and they slowly, obviously, got their shop up and running first, but they've kind of put toilets in that work and stuff, and blacked out the windows and got some light in there, and put a carpet down and painted and things, and looking at the pictures, it looks pretty good. Not been in there to judge it.
The last time I heard
Firestorm was the biggest one I've been to locally, and that's awesome. So I imagine they had to do something just to compete with how nice Firestorm is inside. But yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think the last review I got of Element Games, and this is not Element, Northwest Games. Now I'm talking a couple of years ago. Was it's fucking cold as balls up there. So I don't think it is quite. I think they've got some heating in there and stuff now. So yeah, it'd be good. Go and check out Max. I know he's a cool dude. I'll tell you a story about Max actually. I don't know if he probably doesn't remember it, but the first MKA course I did last year, I didn't really know what the crack was with entertainment. So actually my wife came down as well. It was one of the ways I swung getting the weekend off as she came down to Cardiff. So Saturday night after the course, guys said, oh, we're going to go for some food. I promised I'd meet the wife and go for food with her. You know, that was part of the deal. So I went off and had dinner, came back the next day. And obviously the stories then started. Quite a few of them have been to the pub. Max and I think Andy had decided to go out. Andy lost Max somewhere towards the end of the night. And we were telling this story. And then Max appeared. He came wandering in, not looking very great. He went, I slept in the car outside Firestorm. So what had happened to Max is he got very drunk in a nightclub and he decided to go with somebody to a house party somewhere in Cardiff. He'd been to this house party, decided he wanted to leave, started walking around Cardiff. Didn't know where he was going. Police picked him up. He thought, oh shit, I'm in trouble now. Police just wanted to take him home. Max didn't know where he was. The only place Max knew was where Firestorm was. Didn't know where his hotel was. Got dropped off at Firestorm. Decided to sleep in his car. Did about an hour and a half of painting on the course and went and had another kip in his car for a bit for the rest of the day. So that gives you a sum up on Max. He's an awesome dude. I like Max. Big Max is a good boy. So I imagine these campaigns are going to be fun.
Hence the optional drinking mentioned afterwards. It sounds like it fits in.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, there's no option in that. There's no option in that. It's mandatory. But yeah, so that was cool. What was the next message we picked up then, Stu? Because actually, to be honest, I haven't done any messages lately. I'll just leave it to you.
So it's from Tom Clown. So Tom came to Tarsus, didn't he? Running dark.
He did indeed.
So he fired us a message. He said, hi guys, hope you had a good Christmas and New Year's. I was hoping you might be able to help me out. I've been asked to run a campaign at my local friendly game store, but never done it before. I picked up a few cool missions and some fluff to tie them together. I decided no name characters. He said all formations. I think he's only so that.
I don't know whether it means. Does he mean no rights of war and stuff?
That would be odd, though, wouldn't it?
Well, he's trying to keep it simple. So no formations. Well, that doesn't apply. But if he means no Rights to War. I can kind of see that at 15.
Yeah, maybe. I suppose. Yeah, I suppose you only.
Yeah.
Maybe it just doesn't want people bringing delegates and things. Yeah, it might mean. Yeah. So where are we? Only so that new. Yeah, only so that new players have a chance. So I think he wants to sort of break down the meta, which might have grown for some people who've been playing a little bit longer. Any advice really? So I did fire him a message back. I think my advice was very much kind of. He's already read this, so he's heard this all before. But my advice was just sort of go into it with a clear idea of what you want the event to be like, rather than trying to worry about the minutiae of rules. So if you want to have a relaxed gaming environment where it's story driven and fun, then make sure that you set about that in the way you communicate with the players beforehand. So he's obviously got some ideas of that. He doesn't want it to be hard hitting. Core players coming in bashing newbies, then you need to be really clear to communicate with the players, and that putting it in a rules pack might help, but nobody reads the rules pack, so make sure that you're constantly reminding players before it starts that this is all about narrative, get the narrative out there. And what else did I say to him? I'm actually going to get the message up that my reply. It's probably going to be easier than just sort of blurting on, but there we go, good radio here as I bring up the messages on Facebook.
Slick, professional.
Absolutely, and this is why I realise I'm in the minute.
To be honest, I was just on there. If I'd have thought about it, I'd have stayed. But I'm not.
I just realised that my message I sent to him the other day was a lot more concise than my inane babbling there. So yeah, I think I just said make sure that it remains fun for everyone, which is a pretty cheesy thing to say, but it's true, because that's generally what people want to do with Heresy. There's more narrative than there is competitive. Don't let the rules get in the way of a good story, really. So if you're going to run it as a narrative campaign and you need to change something midway through that's not working because it's not it's affecting the storyline, it's not affecting the narrative's not going the way you want it to, then just change it, because it doesn't matter. You're almost a narrative heresy gaming is almost sort of bordering the line with RPG in some ways, or it can be. It's a bit more like playing Hero Quest than it is playing chess, isn't it? You're there to try and tell a story and role play bits of it. If you want everything just to be decided by rules, then you don't always need the story there in the first place. Think about what your campaign you want to achieve and what kind of players you want to be there. If people only want to bring high-end hard lists and things, have a little chat with them beforehand and say, your lists cool, but these new guys are only going to be bringing along their calf boxes. Do you really want to bring that? Isn't that a little bit too tough? Tone it down a little bit just for this. It's to get new people in, and I'm sure people will understand then if you talk to them before it all starts about their lists. It's not kind of moderating it to a sort of a really deep level, but you do want people to get what you're trying to do. It also makes sure that there's no false expectations, so people don't start it and then you get a real mismatch. So if your players are the kind of group that you can coach them beforehand to bring the kind of lists or balance, then do it. And then just look at other campaigns and things that are already happening. I know the Eye of Horus guys are going to be launching something soon for a global campaign, so I don't know whether that will tie in with anything he's doing at the club, so he might be able to tie some of the global campaign with what he's doing, which would be awesome. It means that it's less work for him as well. So what about yourself, Tom? You obviously ran the last Tarsus event. What comes to mind about him?
Yeah, it actually it's much more. The brief seems much more similar to the first Tarsus event. So the big Tarsus event that we did on the show was actually the second leg of that, and it was a much bigger event. The first one we ran was about 3 months beforehand, and it was very much our little meta had just started. Most people had got a Calth box set. Nobody had really played a lot. We got people with big armies, but a lot of even them, they hadn't played a lot. And it was very much let's all do something that's going to be fun and get everyone playing. And we set the points level at 1,500 points. I think that's the first thing you can do. If you're trying to start people off, and especially if you're going for named character and formations, a smaller point scale, because as soon as you drop under 2k, no Lords of War. Great, that rules that out. So you're not going to get somebody turn up and go, well, I've got my Dick Smashy 2k list I'm running Primarch's Chosen, and I've got I don't know, you just really, you kind of rule that Lords of War thing out. which makes people's Calth box sets much more viable because you suddenly haven't got to take on a knight or a Primarch or a tank, that you're maybe not equipped to deal with. So I quite like, if you're starting off, stay under 1,500 points. I mean, we'll go into lists from the box sets as our next bit of our Beginnersode when we get onto that, and it's very much, when you see the lists that we've built from these box sets, you'll see how restricting the points can help with that. Don't bring a Spartan like some dickhead did, and play it unpainted, like me. But it also keep it simple. Creating custom missions is great and fantastic, and I'm really pushing my missions now for the next events to be really custom, but they're not always the most balanced because you haven't played them through. They haven't had a lot of work. They haven't had, they're often designed to make a point. So if you want to get people playing, what I did for the first event, I just picked 3 of the book missions. I tried to tell a story with the missions I picked. So I looked at the missions, I looked at what they would, sort of how they played out and what the objectives were and sort of what the feel of that mission was. And I structured them. I picked the deployment maps and I picked the mission and I structured them in the order to tell a story of how things were going, and what we were doing. But, keep the missions fairly simple so people aren't trying to scrabble with complex, your own homemade rules and stuff when you're starting. That keeps it interesting for people. And drive the fluff into people. Just absolutely hammer into people. It's about having fun. One of the things I do at the task is there's no prizes for coming first. Fraction, individually, whatever, there's no prize for coming first. So you go and kick the dick off 3 people, great, you've done nothing. You've got nothing to show for your day except for you've kicked 3 dicks in. You can kick 3 dicks in and still win best sporting if you're a nice dude. But you know what I mean? It's about, there's no encouragement for being the best player. It's about playing the game. So, and having fun. So I kind of structure it that way. The other thing I do in my event pack is I do put in there that I reserve the right to get people to change their list if I don't feel it's fun. So that's quite a good caveat in your event pack to say, look, we're trying to build a narrative-based event. We're trying to build a fun-based event. If you're going to come with a dick smasher list that's absolutely min-max, I'm going to tell you to take it away and not play it. Now, I do know of an example recently where people felt at an event that they were having lists unfairly neutered. And this was a tournament, and it was a 40k tournament that they were trying to create a fun atmosphere, but there seemed to be some imbalances in what was being neutered and what wasn't, and it felt a bit unfair. So you've got to be careful with it, not to just sort of go, oh shit, that's mental, just because you don't like it. But if somebody turns up and says, well, I'm going to run a Questorus Knights list at 1,500 points because they're HQs and troops, and I'm going to run 3 Knights at 1,500 points, you're probably going to go, look, dude, most people are going to be running Calth box sets. That's not going to be fun for people to play. Great, let them, and just see if they, talk to them and see if they'll change. The other thing is let people. The other thing I think is a good mechanic is letting people pick their matchups. So not Swiss pairing, not tournaments. I have a couple of caveats at Tarsus, which Tom will be aware of because he came down. Nobody plays each other twice. Nobody plays on the same table twice. So you are mixing people up. But if you come up against somebody and go, I can't do anything about that list, you're not going to have to face it. You can, try and make sure people are having good matchups. Somebody might say, yeah, I really want to take on that tough list. I'm probably going to get hammered, but fuck it, I'll have a go at it. You might get somebody who goes, you know what, I can't face that and I'm not going to enjoy it. They can move on to play something different. So there's a couple of things there to look at. But overall, just be laid back. The best way to get people to relax is if you're the TO is to get horrendously drunk during the event. Because when they see you don't give a shit, they'll stop worrying about rules and actually subscribe to the Australian method of rules discussion, which I believe Tim champions. When somebody comes up to him and says, we've got a question on rules, he turns around and says, well, you've got the fucking books and you're grown up, sort it out. That you may, I think at the last Tarsus event, I think I was asked 2 questions. I know one of them was, how does Interceptor work with the Cognos Signum? No, the Augury Scanner. And it is a really fucked set of rules. I know Ryan from RFI has gone into this. The fucking rules are shagged. And I just said to him, look, it's intercepted with heavy and assault weapons within 15 inches, and it just plays like Interceptor with those weapons. Just fucking play it like that. And everyone's happy with that. It's cool. And I think the other question was, are we multi-bombing? And I went, yeah. Which is great. And we managed to play 20 people, play 3 games, and that was the rules debates. Because I know there were people talking about rules, but a lot of people went, how do you do this? Oh, I do it this way. I do it that way. Oh, cool, we'll do it that way. And they were happy then. And that's the way to... And you want to encourage that kind of... You know, you don't want to be rules lawyering and arguing over the wording of it. You know, just say, well, you're fucking adults. Sort it out. So, yeah, that's kind of how I looked at it.
So basically,
and
drink and tell a story. That sums it up, really, isn't it?
Drink, tell a story, and tell everyone they're fucking grown-ups and they're playing with toy soldiers. So,
of course,
over it.
It sounds like Tom's going to be running this at a local shop over the series of weeks or months, I'm guessing. So, if someone turns up and every time Tom's drunk in the shop, and they haven't met him before, maybe they'll have a different opinion than...
Actually, if you're gonna drink, make sure the bloody place you drink has got a premises license, because you can get in trouble. Now, you know, the drinking's fun. It's actually just more be relaxed and chilled, and
make sure you tell us about it.
Make
sure you send us so we can feed back and let the listeners know how you've got on, and if you got arrested for driving home drunk and lost your license, tell us. It's a story. It's not the story we probably expected, but it's and it'll be Tom's fault.
Yeah, and definitely let us know when the events are, Tom, and we'll make sure we share them on the Facebook page, and we'll do it. Geez, where's Tom from? He did tell me, because we might be able to give you an idea. I can't just Google Tom Clowns. That doesn't work.
You just done
you
that,
have to go onto. You have to go onto Facebook and click on him. You can't just type it into Google and find people. Let's see where, because he did say. I'm apologising. We did have this conversation. He was northwest. Cheshire.
Northwest.
So Cheshire. So it's going to be it's going to be up that way. Tom was a really cool dude. Yeah, Posh Manx. He came. Fair play to the dude. He travelled all the way down to see us at Cheltenham to play in the event. And, big shout out for doing that, Tom. And if the dates work, me and Stu can do it. We will totally return the favour and come up and play with you guys as well. So let us know, and we'll make sure we get it in the show notes, and we'll get you a promotion for all 5 of these people that listen to us. So yeah, cool. Good luck, Tom. I'm going to take the next message, Stu, because it's my favourite message we've had.
Thought it might be.
So a wonderful, the best man in the heresy, the greatest guy to ever grace the Horus Heresy, LJ Brooker sent us a message. Booker even, I can't even, I fucked his name up straight away.
Did he scream his message at you while talking into his hand?
Yes, pretty much. We commune through the warp. Guys, just wanted to say what a fucking fantastic podcast you're doing. Found you through the Eye of Horus, and get ready for it, Tim. Oh fuck! I'm completely fucking screwed.
That was awesome. That was really good. You...
Oh fucking! I got so excited. I've got such a heresy hard on for this section. He says, "I found you through the Eye of Horus from the guys down under, and for my money, you're doing better." So,
clearly not. By
anyway,
the way, you did that. So I think you've just completely undermined the theme of that.
Oh no! No, he did. To be fair, Tim and Michael, you are the reason we joined the heresy, and with all great things, anything that happens, the prodigies become the masters. So just move over. At
least there's actually two
of us. A good test.
There's clearly 2 of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I am fully subscribed to the theory that Michael is Tim's split personality. I am 100% down with that. Tim, the Eye of Horus is actually Tim just having a breakdown. But moving on to the more serious point, LJ says, couldn't agree more with everything you've been saying about historical gaming and immersion aspect. After that, I've started a new Night Lords list, which you guys have given me some mega inspiration to crack on with. Any little known bits of fluff about the 8th you would be handy to know. So little known bits about the 8th. Conrad Kurz was particularly penchant to lemon drizzle cake, and he also was left-handed.
He's quite bitter. So yeah.
He's quite bitter. Yeah. The eighth year of school was the year I decided I didn't like school, so that was quite good. The Chiroptera is fantastic, and Sevatar is probably the best character in the Heresy. I think he's absolutely badass. Listen to Prince of Crows, basically. Prince of Crows is a fantastic book. I say listen to a book. That's because I listen to all my books, because I can't actually read. I like audiobooks. But yeah, Night Lord's awesome. Join our group. Andrew Green in our little meta's got some fantastic Night Lord's army going. He's got old school metal Raptors, which are fantastic. And yeah, hopefully we'll keep your commutes nice and fun talking about my school experiences.
we've just dropped down to third or fourth in his list of podcasts after that reading, I imagine. But no, glad he's enjoying it. Your answer was probably more interesting than mine. I just went, I didn't really know about too much about Night Lords. Read Pharos. They're in there a bit kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, Pharos is a good book as well. Yeah. The big black books, as always, are your biggest source of inspiration for fluff. They are
and your only source of information if you're Tim, because Tim doesn't read the novels, does he?
Because it's very hard to read novels when you're having a breakdown. You know, whilst making up Michael's fantastic life and having to work on that, the voice he puts on for him, it's quite hard to have the time to.
Well, he probably has read the books, but he's read them as Michael, and as Tim, he can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah, so Tim Reed Betrayer is actually Tim Reed Betrayer again, but with the right personality this time. Awesome. Well, it's always nice to give yourself a circle jerk at the end with a bit of praise, isn't it? So, cool. I think we've rambled on plenty long enough for that. So let's piss off to a break and give you a bit of a rest from my crap.
G52 is sponsored by Incom Gaming, the new centre for tabletop wargaming in Gloucestershire. Visit incomgaming.co.uk for great savings on pre-orders and all your hobby needs. We stock many gaming systems and hobby accessories and can ship to anywhere in the UK. Incom Gaming is the only UK stockists of the market-leading gaming mats from gamemats.eu. Visit the store and check out how to turn your tabletop into a battlefield. Incom Gaming is based in the centre of Cheltenham and offers tables and scenery for casual and organised play with a fully licensed bar. Check out our events page for upcoming events where everyone is welcome. Save an additional 10% on Games Workshop Heresy products by using the code GINO52 at the checkout. Visit incomgaming.co.uk and help fight the betrayal. Incom Gaming. Come game, shop, drink. To shop elsewhere is heresy.
Welcome back, guys. We're going to go into our first section then, and we're going to follow up on our beginner episode from last episode. I think generally quite well received. We tried to cover a lot of stuff in that episode, and we wanted to keep it fairly more about the game itself than the specifics of each specific army. But we have had a lot of questions about building army lists. So we had a discussion, we had a chat, and I mean, we could probably go on for bloody days about building armies and lists and all kinds of stuff. And, if you want to talk about solar orcs and militia and mechanicum, we'd go on for, there's a lot there. Maybe we'll come back and look at sections on specific army lists. But one of the questions that kept popping up a lot was, I've bought Calth, I've bought Prospero, what can I do with it? What can I go from it? So me and Stu have both looked at lists, and we've taken kind of two different methods at it. I've taken I've bought Calth and Prospero. I've got all this plastic in front of me. How can I get it on the table as fast as possible for as little more expenditure as possible? Whereas Stu, I think you've taken a box at a time and looked at each box individually.
It's as you were saying, it's really difficult because we wanted to look at it from a Legion neutral point of view. Otherwise, the subject is too big to cover. Because the answers of how do you build, what do you build from this box of plastics is going to be different depending on your legion, on the right of war you might like to choose. So this is much more of a sort of scaled back, what's the best way to start, really. And so I looked at it from a point of view of a new to Heresy, not played before. started with the Calf box because I think it was the more rounded of the overall boxes with the more generic nature of your characters and things. But started with the Calf box. I thought, right, I'm going to build a 1500 point list with the aim of using everything that's in the box. And then what I would do to take it up to 2,000, so spending money on things that aren't in the box, so basically adding some tanks to make it a little bit more rounded, just to give people an idea. It's not going to be the most competitive list. It's not going to be necessarily the best thing for every legion to do, but it gives you an idea of one way you could go. So hopefully it gets people's juices flowing and think, oh yeah, actually I could do that with that unit, or I'll do it a little bit differently. Yeah, so that's the approach I took as well. So it's two slightly different approaches. Kind of let's use everything we can without buying much extra. Get it on the table. Can you make 2,500? Mine's probably more of a bit like we did when we first started at the club, starting at 1,500 points, which is what a lot of people will do. How can I start playing and give you some ideas to build it into something that will change later as you choose your legion and choose your rite of war and etc. etc.
Yeah, I went for max out everything I could, overkill most I could get out of it, whereas you probably were a bit more efficient and planned a bit more long-term ahead. I just went, right, this is all I've got, I'm just going to use this shit, what can I do with it? And I think whereas you've planned a bit more about how I started as well, what can I do, what do I do with these, where do I go from there to make a bigger army? So should I blitz through my list? Cool. So I literally, like I said, I took both boxes, maxed out what I could do. So first thing I did was take a Praetor with Terminator armor. This is your Calth Cataphracti hero. He took Pride of the Legion as a Rite of War, because I did use the Rite of War to maximise what I could do with it. And I think starting off, Pride of the Legion is probably one of the best ways to start, because you get your veteran attack squads, which makes your 30 Bolter Marines in each box more efficient. Cataphracti Terminator armor, Combi Bolter power weapon, digital lasers, and then bodyguard of 5 chosen Terminators. So this is your Terminator squad that comes in Calth. 1 standard bearer Terminator, so you'll have to convert him up a bit. I did that more for rule of cool than anything else. I'd love to see a Terminator standard bearer. All of them, the 4 others and the Terminator standard bearer, all have combi bolters and chain fists, because chain fists, now we can't multi-bomb, you're going to need to fist everybody. And what's better than a fisting? A fisting with a chain on the end of it to keep you happy. Then I took the Araman model, I made him a Librarian, so a console with a Librarian upgrade, Centurion with a console upgrade Librarian, made him Mastery level 2, gave him Artificer armor, Force weapon, which I made a stave, because it is what he's got, and a plasma pistol, so that gets you a second HQ. I then had two identical squads of veterans, so these are 10-man veteran squads. Sergeants have got Artificer armor and combi weapons. They've got machine killers. You've got 7 combi bolters, which are melters, and 2 melter guns in each squad. So that gives you 14 combi melters, 15 combi melters, and 4 melter guns in 2 squads. Give them Vexellers as well, because I'm pretty sure they're pretty much auto includes Vexellers really. Then we had 2 more identical 10-man veteran squads. So this is your next 20 veterans. Giving him Sergeant's got Artificer armor and combi weapons. And then everybody else is marksmen. So they got the marksmen. So they got outflanked, so you can bring them in side as well. I did touch up 2 heavy bolters with Spencer webs on there, so that you can run around with some heavy bolters with sniper, which is always fun. 2 of those squads. I then did for my last 20 Marines, so this is your Mark 3s and your Mark 4s. I did another 2 10-man vet squads, Sergeants with Artificer armor and combi weapons. Marksman vets again, so either outflank them or don't. And I put a Legion Vexella on them, but I gave these 2 guys missile launchers. So both those squads have got one's got 2 missile launchers in it, and the other squad's got 2 plasma guns in it. And the vet, oh hang on, I've totally screwed the pooch on that. It was one 10-man squad with 2 missile launchers, and then one 10-man squad with combi plasmas and plasma guns. So ignore what I said there, basically, because I fucked it. But so you've got 60 dudes on the table. Then you've got your Contemptor Dreadnought with a Kerry's Assault Cannon and a Power Fist, because I think that's better than the multi-melter, because you probably want a bit of range. Then 5 Terminators, so these are your Calth Terminators in your elite slot. So these are your Tartarus Terminator armors, 3 Combi Bolters, 4 Chain Fists, and a Reaper Autocannon in there. That is 2,500 points, and Ryan Kimmel, if it's wrong, stay in your fucking lane. So yeah, I've literally maxed it out. You've got 60 dudes on the table, 2 eras. I think the only thing I didn't use in there was the Chaplain. Just I couldn't squeeze him in, and you haven't got a combat unit, so it didn't make sense. I'd rather use the Arrowman model. So yeah, basically the plan for that would be you have your machine killer vets on the table. They got to get close to something and melter gun everything. Your marksman vets, you've got the options of outflanking them or not. And obviously sniper bolters is fun. Your plasma gun vets are going to be going after Terminators, things like that. You've got a Dreadnought in there for doing Dreadnought things. And you've got 2 squads of Terminators. Now, personally, I think anybody with rules knowledge is going to be screaming at you going, that's a crap list. Because you're all foot slogging, you're all out in the open. It's not a particularly efficient list. It's probably not the best build in the world, but like I said, I've literally got the box and gone, build an army out of the boxes. So the only things you're going to have to pick up there are combi melters and combi plasmas and stuff. You know, that's the only thing you're going to have to buy in, really, the combi weapons and a standard to go with your Terminator to make them a standard bearer, but that's bits. So that's what I did for 2,500 points. Personally, I think going forward, if I was going to make that list better, you're going to drop some of the vets. You're probably going to drop a Terminator squad. You're going to get transports for your vet squads. You're going to get some way of transporting your Terminator squad, probably a Spartan. You're already going to want some Rhinos, maybe some Land Raiders. You know, that's really actually what you should do with that list. But there's an example of, here is everything in the box. Let's make it a usable army, a legal army on the table. So yeah, that's what I came up with.
Cool. I think from listening to that and thinking about what I did when I did the list, I think the message is, if you've got both boxes and you haven't built them yet, probably don't build up all of your tacticals. Save some. And you build them as different things as you play the game, because then you'll have them as different options in a larger force. So maybe you'll have collected 4,000 points to pick your list from. So maybe you'll make some into breaches. Maybe you'll have some made up as vets with combis. Maybe you will just want some made as basic tactical marines, because obviously building a list like that, you're going to end up with all of your marines all built up as vets and things, and then if you ever want to run normal tacticals or something else, you're going to have to buy more, and you're very unlikely, unless you play a massive game, to run all that many. So, but that was spot on. It's a way of showing that if you don't ever intend to go and spend money on any resin, you still want to play Heresy and you want massive infantry based army, you could go and build all that and then spend 500 points more on a few tanks and things, and run a real infantry heavy army, which could be quite cool, to be honest with you. It could be quite hard to deal with in its own way. You might struggle to deal with super heavies and things like that, but you could definitely that many marines coming across the board in rhinos and all vets and stuff, they're going to cause some trouble. So it's definitely got some legs. But like you said, we're not trying to build these lists as competitive things. And if you're an experienced player, or even just a player that's been playing 6 months or something, you're thinking, well, I wouldn't do that. And it's an example. So many people have asked us, what do we get? How many points is the box? Yeah, that's the kind of questions that we're trying to sort of deal with, really. So Tom did his first, and I thought, I'll go with as a slightly different route. So I've based it off the Calf box, but you can do this with the Prospero box. The difference is, if you're not going to run Wolves or Thousand Suns, your characters aren't really, that come in that box, aren't really usable, and you haven't got the Dread. But you still got effectively 30 Marines and 5 Terminators. So you could build the core of this list from either box, but you probably wouldn't need both. You probably find that from one box or the other, depending on which army you like the best, and then add other bits to it. But for base it on the Calf starter because it gives you that little bit more. I've used the characters as they're equipped, as the models are equipped. Just based on if you're new and you've not done much converting before, now they're not the best loadouts probably for them. But I've gone with a Delegatus in Terminator armor. So that's the Praetor model you get in the Calf box. Gone for the Delegatus so you can take a Rite of War. Pride of the Legion again, as Tom took for his, and it's just it is the kind of easiest thing to get your head around. It gives you a decent bonuses in order to use your elites as troops. So it's a really good place to start if all you've got is lots of troop type models and you want to get them all in the list really, and make them better than normal tacticals. He's got a chain fist, so he's normal combi bolter. So literally as he was in the box. Just the main difference is he's a Delegatus rather than the Praetor. Taking the chaplain as well because that's what the model is. Again, so easy to convert him. You clip off his croziers, and that's pretty much it really. You could make him in just so many of the other console types that are in the book, but I went with the basic one just because of the rerolls to hits that he'll give. So he goes really, really well with the Delegatus and the Terminators, which I'll come to in a little moment. But actually, I'll tell it say now. So I've got 5 Terminators. There's the Cataphractory Terminators. 2 chain fists, 2 power fists, and then your sergeant's got a power fist as well. Sorry, no, he hasn't. Sergeant's got a power fist, and I've added a Reaper autocannon. Now this first list is only 1,500 points, and they're foot slogging. It's not the way to go with Cataphractory really, so I gave them the autocannon, so they've got a little bit of ranged covering fire, so to speak, as they're trancing across the table, because they're probably not gonna get into battle if you're facing anything other than another list of very similar style. And then I've used the normal tacticals and done 3 squads of veterans as well. So 2 I've done as given them the marksman, the idea of the marksman special rule with combi weapons and melter bombs. Now, like Tom, that's the only thing you haven't got enough of in the box. You're going to have to source some combi weapons from somewhere, so that means bit sites, it means swapping with other people that got calves. You can buy combi weapons from Forge World. I think they're 15 quid for 15, aren't they? But you get 5 of each.
Yeah,
you get 5 of each, so only 5 flamer, 5 melter, 5 plasma, I think. So you might not have the mix you need, but there'll be a little extra cost to spend there. And I've go on.
So I was going to say, buy a pack of them, get the ones out you want, trade the others for on trading sites, swap.
You can make money out of that.
Ways of
making
your money
of individual combi weapons on eBay, and they clearly sell. If you break that pack up and sell them individually, you're going to pay for the pack and make a bit of money on top. So you could quite easily pay your 15 quid, keep the 10 you want or something, and sell off the ones you don't. And someone's going to want them. So and lots of people who don't want to buy a pack needing 5 of them to get rid of 10. So I've done two identical veteran squads like that, and then I've done one that's slightly different. I've gone for machine killer on there, and I've added 2 melter guns in there, a few less combi weapons just to make the points fit. So it's slightly different roles. One's that it's going to be better at hopefully taking down a tank if you're coming up against it. The veterans, because marksman seems to be the best all-round ability.
It definitely gives you flexibility as well, haven't they?
So you obviously these guys are on foot, so at least you've got the opportunity of maybe getting them behind the line somewhere or getting up the side of someone, gives them a bit more mobility. And then there's the Contempted Dreadnought as well. And again, I've put the Carrier's Assault Cannon on there, and there's the normal fist, the non-melter option. So I've not gone for the dual or anything like that. So no conversions, build it straight out the box, and that's 1,500 points on the nose. So you can build 1,500 points, and all you need to do is build or convert. I suppose you can convert your combis if you've been playing 40k for a while. It's very easy to find some. So even with plastic card, to build some little extra nozzles to go underneath the main nozzle for your bolter round. I think you could do it. So you could. No one's going to worry about that as long as you're depicting those guns in a certain way. A couple of little bits out your bits box. I think you can make some interesting combi looking bolters as well. So you could do that with just the Calf box, which you can get for about 76 quid at most discounted friendly local game stores. I think under 80 quid for 1,500 point starter Heresy Army is fine, and that list will do okay in 1,500 starter games what you will find is
if you're facing
mobility issues there. There's no tanks at all. It's not just about the hard hitting there. You've got nothing to take on armour. You've got nothing to get your army moving quickly apart from the outflanking veterans. And then I thought, right, I need to add to that list. Let's do something different to Tom. Rather than adding the Prospero box in myself and coming up with something very similar, I wanted to look at it a different way. Like I'd already said, if you want to use your Prospero box, you can still do the list I just said. You're just going to have to buy or build, kit bash or something, your Praetor or your Delegatus, etc., and your Chaplain or your other console, and buy the Contemptor. And you can do that. You can buy the GW plastics for that now at a reasonable price, or pick them up on eBay. They're always cheap. Going on eBay, I think you can probably get the Cat Factory Terminator now for about £6 or £7 on eBay, and the Chaplain. There's so many of them out there that the prices are quite low on eBay. So if you prefer your Mark III, go ahead, get your Mark III, and then go and get your other bits online, or getting it. If you want to, if you're going for the Prospero and you want to use your Tartarus armor and you want to make a Tartarus character, buy another 5 Tartarus on eBay for £20 and convert one to Kit Basher. So easy to do with the plastics.
I think
not that you'd probably use that anyway. You'd probably choose a different option. You'd probably put your character in Artificer armor. But anyway, I digress a little bit. So to take that up to 2,000 points, I think it was the message for me was add some tanks. I want to add a transport for those Terminators to get them, so you can get them where you want them. Fortunately, Land Raiders don't cut it because of the capacity. So you have to really go with the Spartan, which is expensive. But I've added a Spartan in.
Spend your money on the spending your money on the right things is never a bad thing. A Spartan's expensive, but if it's a big add to the list, it's worth the money. If you know what I mean. You haven't spent hundreds of pounds on your tack squad. Spend it on the
absolutely.
On the
it makes a huge difference to the army because it means that you can have your 5 Cataphracti, you got your Delegatus or Praetor if you decide to tweak the list, stick your Chaplain in there as well, and you've got this big, hard, heavy tank that's hard to kill. So I've kitted it out with all the usual stuff, your flare shield, your auxiliary drive, your armor ceramite. I've even added a hunter killer missile on there because I had to spare 5 points. But it gives those Marines, those Terminators and your characters a bus to ride in. It's the old favourite Death Star bus. Well, quite a small Death Star, but it all fits in there. The only thing I'd change was that if I was going for the 2,000 points, I would drop the autocannon and then go for another Marine with close combat, another Terminator with close combat, so stick another chain fist on there. Purely because if they're in the Spartan anyway, they're not going to be firing the autocannon. And when they get out, they're probably going to be charging out and getting into close combat anyway, and then you're never going to use it. So if you're building the list from 1,500 up to 2,000, you could probably magnetise that one arm. It's a bit of a pain with the way the top greaves on the shoulder pads stick on, but if you're skilled, if you've been gaming for a little while, you could probably work out a way of doing it. And then the only other change is to supply some rhinos for those veterans, because that makes them so much better, especially the outflanking ones. And then so there's different ways you can go. You can go for the 3 Demos rhinos from Forge World, which are in my opinion the nicer looking ones. Which I thought you couldn't get in a 3-pack, but apparently you can.
All of the 2 seconds took to fucking Google and find it.
This morning, it wasn't coming up. But anyway, so that's 100 quid, isn't it? So, so you look at
interesting.
Look at 209 quid. That's not a small amount of money at all. I'm not saying it is, but you're adding that to your Calf box, and for less than £300, you've got a 2,000 point Heresy army with resin in it. And it's probably it's quite a decent all round army there. Now that won't work for depending, what changes is if you want to do a certain legion and that the flavour of the veterans, etc., don't match your legion. I totally get that. This is just based on what's a very vanilla kind of army, but for a lot of legions that will work fine. It will work fine for building for Alpha Legion or for Ultramarines and things like that. It works very nicely for your kind of standard, especially more loyalist maybe legions. So works really well. And you still, if you want to then play 2,500 after that, you've got 500 points, then you can actually probably go and treat yourself to another posh tank or something like that, or a flyer or something to go with it. And then a tank, a flyer, and a couple of quad mortars. 9 quad mortars, and it's really good.
I'm looking at you, Mr. Wardle.
Well, and someone else apparently you've just seen in a. We won't name the person you've just seen in a.
Oh yeah,
in a group.
flicking through Facebook and somebody goes, "I've just built 9 quad mortars."
Luckily, he's not an art meta.
Um,
But the other thing is you can use your GW rhinos if you want to save some money, and I think you tend to get those for about 20 quid a pop. Again, discount retailers, so that's only 60 quid for the 3. So you'd only have the one bit of resin there, but again, it reduces the cost even further. So for 170 quid on top of your 75, 80 quid you spent on your calf set, again, it's quite cheap. You play these games, they do cost money. No matter what system you play, you very rarely get a sort of full size army that you play with for less than sort of £200 to £300. So it's right up there, I think, comparable with a 40k army in plastic or an AOS army in plastic or other systems. Whereas if you looked at that army purely in resin, it would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So, and this shows you how accessible it is. So yeah, not well beaten armies, competitive against a similar kind of meta. Once you start hitting sort of people that have been a bit more established a bit longer, you'll probably want to develop and grow them. But they're definitely decent building blocks, I think.
That list is going to serve you well to start with. That it's not going to kick the dick off everybody, but it's also not going to leave you to get run over every time you play it on the field. Which I think is kind of, like I said, if you decide you're going to do a Blood Angels army and you're going to run Day of Revelation, you need all Assault Marines and you can't take Spartans and Rhinos. So this is what we're saying. If we're trying to be fairly vanilla and generic, because it's very hard if we start going into each specific legion. It's going to be a well that we're never going to come out of. White Scars. I was chatting to a guy on Facebook on one of the groups about White Scars, and he was saying about he wanted to do White Scars. Was it worth buying Prospero and Cath? And I said no. I said because if all your rules benefit you for being on bikes and things, you're not going to get any value out of it. You're going to waste most of these guys. So if you're going to do something very specific like White Scars, you might want to. Going to look at other options. I was talking to him about buying the 40k plastic bikes to keep to use as outrider bikes to keep the cost down and things like that. Similar principle. Use plastic where you can, spend your money on the resin. Where it's effective. This is why I think me and Stu, I think we both said in the last episode, the best place to start if you're considering doing this, the best investment you can make is buy the red books. Buy the books. Look at the books. Think about what you're going to do. Because while Calth and Prospero are a bargain, against their equivalent resin models, if you're buying the box and then wasting half of it, it's not a bargain. No matter how cheap it is, if you don't need half of it, it's not a bargain. So just think and plan, you think where you are. But I think what you've done there, Stu, with your list is create a very solid base, And one of the questions that does come up a lot is, can I use my plastic GW stuff in 30k? The answer, unequivocally, with no fucking arguing, is yes. They are Mars patterned rhinos. They are Mars pattern rhinos, predators. As far as I'm aware, and I will have a redacted Imperialis section if I'm wrong, but from the way I know it, the Mars patterns, the Demos pattern stuff, so the Demos Vindicators, the Demos Rhinos, Demos Predators, were highly advanced, very difficult to manufacture things. Brilliant, fantastic, well-engineered things, but they were hard to manufacture. And as the Great Crusade rolled on, there was a need to mass-produce things. The legions grew and grew and grew and grew. You got 250,000 fucking Ultramarines to start with. You're not going to give them all, manufacturing Demos is not going to work. So they rolled out Mars pattern, and they were supposed to be a get-you-buy thing during in the Great Crusade. We'll smash out a load of Mars pattern rhinos till the Crusade's done, and then we'll go back to making better ones. Heresy broke out. The plan changed. Demos became too hard to manufacture. If you go, what's the first compilation book? Let's look at my shelf. Tales of Heresy?
Yeah, sounds right.
I think it's Tales of Heresy. So. There is a book in there, Ultramarine story called Rules of Engagement, where I think it's the first time the Ultramarines appear in bulk, and they are fighting practice wars against, so say, the other legions, and basically Gilliman's working out how to kick everyone's dick in. And at one point they are flying around in a Thunderhawk, and the Ultramarines in there are ripping the piss out of the Thunderhawk, saying it is basically cheap and shitty. I think the comment's even made when he sees there's a mechanic and cog symbol, he goes, "Oh, thank fuck they at least put one of those in there. They blessed it enough to put a fucking symbol on it. It's probably the most sturdy thing in here, the bloody symbol." And they're knocking on the Thunderhawk because they want to be in a Stormbird because the Stormbird was advanced thing. But the same thing, they say, we can't all have Stormbirds because we need a fuck ton, so they're mass producing the Thunderhawk. It's a stopgap measure, So no one's going to shit on you for using your rhinos. If somebody says to you, your plastic rhinos are not 30k, well, they are. They're around. They're at the time. A lot of Legions have DMOS because that's what they were issued with to start with. And like you, Stu, personally, I prefer the DMOS Rhino. I like the model. I really do. I've got three DMOS Rhinos, a DMOS Whirlwind, the Scorpius. I love the model. But if somebody came and said, I got my plastic Rhinos, I'm not going to go, oh, go away, I don't want to play you. I would say with the plastic kits, think about slapping Aquilas and all the bloody skulls and everything you get in the kits with them to 40k them. Just think about your aesthetic and matching the aesthetic of where the heresy is. But yeah, great, bring your plastic so you can, I'm no problems. The Predator gets mentioned because the triple las Predator, which you probably don't know, Stu, but in 40k you can add las cannons on the main gun and las cannons on the sponsons. Yeah. That's not available in 30k. You can put las cannons on the sponsons, but there isn't a las cannon main gun. So you're going to have to be careful and just make sure what you build is legal. But it's the same as any model you build. You want to make sure it's legal first. But yeah, that's my little soapbox moment. If somebody's painted a cool plastic army, James at our club, most of his stuff is plastic, isn't it? His Medusas are the hunter kits, the plastic hunter kits that he's done some conversion work on. He's thought about what he's doing, and they look great as Medusas. So it can be done. I'm going to I've triggered all the resin master race.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Absolutely.
You got to, if you want to play the game, make the effort to make it look heresy by the way that you model and paint it. That's far more important in my mind than whether you can afford or want to afford the resin, at least to start with as well. If it's about getting you on games on the table. I mean, I've only got one because I've been running breaches. I don't really use Rhino transports for my fists, but I've got one for my support squads, and it's an old Road Trader Rhino. So much as I prefer the DMOS, I haven't bought one yet because I haven't needed it. I'm sure I'll purchase them in the future. But again, that's something you can look for. We've got something coming up in a moment, an interview with a gamer that often purchases those because you can pick them up for tenner online. Some of them are in pretty bad state. Aren't you just in the process of sending one over to Sweden for Jodie?
Yeah, I've got one sat on my desk, my Road Traeger one. I bought like a 30 quid. Basically, it was a Games Workshop pick and mix. It was like somebody was selling their kids, obviously, Misadventure into Games Workshop, and it was just a box of models. And I just went, 10 quid, I'll have it. And it had Road Traeger.
Looks in decent
Rhino
condition,
in it, and I love it.
And it's got a typically Road Trader camo paint scheme.
Yeah. But it's just sat on my shelf and it's not doing anything. And Jody's got a couple that he's putting in his Iron Warriors list, and he was after one more, and I went, well, it's sat on my shelf. It's sat on my shelf for 2 years. It's not doing anything. So I'm still going to stick it in the post and send it to Powerful Sweden. So, yeah, I mean, you can be clever with things. Look at things and look at what you're doing. And to be honest, I'm looking at my army in my cabinet, and the only plastic in there is my Kerry's, my Contemptor from Calf, my infantry from Calf, and one medic. I've got a lot of resin in my army. Oh no, I've actually got the Melter Squad, didn't I, from Prospero as well. So I've got a lot of resin, and I like the resin models. But I'm not. I wouldn't. What I don't want to see is somebody just pick up their 40k army and go, "Here's my 30k army." It's not really what I want to play 30k for. No. Again, if you came to me and said, "Look, I want to play a game of Heresy. I've never played it. Do you mind if I use my 40k army so I can have a go at it?" I think we were talking. Was it Nicholas? It might have been Nicholas from the Don't Lose Your Head podcast was saying he got a mate with an Imperial Guard army, and he just structured it into a militia army for him so he could play the game and have a go. Yeah, I'll do that. Bring your 40k army and we'll structure it, and you can play a game of Heresy to see if you like it. But I'm in it for the immersion and the aspect. I mean, it was nice playing Rob on Tuesday. His army's lovely. He's done an amazing job painting it up. You know, he's a really good example of plastics. He's got Possessed, Chaos Space Marine. He's done a bit of conversion work. He's really worked on the paint job. Runs them as Galval back. They look as good, you know, as Galval back as any other model I've seen. You know, they're great because he's thought about the models he's going to use and the way he's painted them, and he hasn't gone mental on all the really witchy poo stuff in the Possessed box. He's worked it and put some Mark IV bits in there as well and stuff to, you know, to tie it into the Heresy and plastic things. He's going to buy some Galval back because he saw him. He got some Galval back for Christmas. I think his wife bought them and he was like, "Oh my god, they're amazing." But you know, he's done his own job with them. So if you want to get started by the plastics. And you might say, you know, you see a couple of Demos pattern rhinos at an event, you go, "Oh yeah, I do like them. I might buy one every now and again and replace my plastic rhinos."
Absolutely, that's the way to go.
You know?
I mean, the only reason I put the Spartan, which is the biggest cost in that list, was purely because you couldn't take the 5 Terminators, the Delegatus, and the Chaplain in a standard plastic Land Raider, which also, as Tom was saying, you can take. So if you can't afford a Spartan, then maybe you can't run your characters in with your Terminators, but you could still stick your 5 Terminators on their own in a standard GW plastic Land Raider if you wanted to. If that's your budget, that's what you can afford.
Yeah, and just tweak your list. So, yeah, no, it's just something I see a lot. I get asked the question a lot. You know, I don't get asked it per se. I see it. You know, can I use my plastic rhinos? You know, and there is a little bit of the resin master race, and the resin stuff is beautiful. And yeah, I like my resin stuff. I do love the models. You know, my Dreadclaw's sitting there looking at me and I'm thinking, fuck, that looks cool. But I'm not going to come to somebody and go, I'm not going to play you because you've got plastic models. I might say, I don't want to play you because your army's fucking unpainted. Go and paint it and come back and talk to me later. But if it's painted, it looks cool, it looks good, yeah, go for it. Let's do it. You know, let's play, you know. And like I said, it's usually a gateway drug. Most people I know start off going, well, I'm only going to use plastic stuff and I'm going to be really clever with it. And they get into the heresy hole and then they're remortgaging their house because they bought so much resin.
Well, inventory-wise, a lot of people won't agree with this. I prefer the plastics. I think the scaling's better on them. I think some of the older sculpts are a bit too skinny. They missed leg day. They look smaller than Guard or Solar Auxilia Marines. They are, you know, scale-wise, the plastics are a little bit better, and the plastics coming out was the reason I started doing it, because I could justify spending the money on the tanks in resin, but I couldn't ever really justify spending the same kind of money on a tank that I would on a tactical squad, and that was what sort of kept me away from really going full on for years. I was playing other games, but yeah, I think don't be put off by if anyone says that, because it is a minority and they're entitled to their opinions. I've got no problem with people that really want to play. You know, they have a small gaming groups and they tend to associate with people who buy the resin and they have the same ideas. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But in the general kind of public forums, if you go to events, independent events, and if you're at a very public gaming club that's open to the public, and someone's telling you that you shouldn't be using something, then they're probably a bit of a dick. If it's a private club and they've set it up to be a certain theme, or that's up to them, and that's fine. So, you know, someone's running it out of their own house, and they've got a few select core of friends that come each week, and their rules are that, you know, we only really want to play resin stuff. We don't like converted 40k stuff. That's fine, because that's a group of friends that are deciding to go with a certain aesthetic. But if it's a public area, if you're making an effort and getting it painted, then yeah, people really shouldn't be behaving like that. But I don't think it's a problem. It's very few people that say it, and I think maybe a few people more maybe think it but don't say it. But
yeah, like I said, I mean, there's keeping to the aesthetic, there's keeping to the feel of the heresy, you know, and all those kind of things. But who gives a shit? I'll tell you the other good thing for plastic marines: if you're a clumsy dickhead like me who plays a lot, plastic marines bounce a damn sight better than resins do, because I drop them all over the fucking place.
He does. I was giving you bits of your army back to you the other day, wasn't I? That I found on the floor, bolters off your rhinos.
Oh yeah, shit. The bolters on the rhino. I got to admit, that's the one thing of the Demos pattern rhino that really fucking annoys me, is the there is only a tiny little plug that goes into the actual body of the Rhino on those combi bolters, and all of mine have come off at some point. I much prefer the ones you get with the Legion, the pintle mounted weapon set, because they are 2 bolters pushed together onto one thing, and the 2 of them together are a lot more stable than the one. I've got to repair all my Rhinos before I go up to No Retreat, because I can't put them on the table with bolt guns snapped off them. But so if you've got, I'm going to abuse my privilege now. If you have got spare bolters for Demos Rhinos, please get in touch. I need 3. Hang on, I'm going to go and look. I can't fucking see. They're on here.
This is the good radio.
I need 2.
You need 2.
Yeah, classic radio. I need 2, a left and a right one. Not a left and a right. I just need 2 Demos Rhino bolt guns. I will hug you, kiss you, send you money, send you nude pictures, whatever you vote. You know,
they send them to you. That's yeah.
Yeah. If you don't send me them, I will start publishing nude pictures on Instagram.
Aren't you
and
planning
you can all deal
on doing
with
that anyway?
My fat Don't ruin the 500 Instagram followers surprise.
Have we hit it though?
We were very close to
a live checking of our 499.
499. So the next person to follow us on Instagram is going to get a private message with my of a nude. We are never going to get 500 followers on Instagram now,
isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, we might do something special for 500 Instagram followers. We're at a load of people in the Facebook group as well, aren't we? Now I was looking at that the other day. We're not Aya Horace 2000 Cayman strong, but 184 members in the podcast group. That's quite cool. Yeah, we're nearly at 200 in there. That was cool. Yeah, cool. I think we've list bashed, haven't we? Me and you, Stu. I think we both admit we're not the most list orientated people. It's not the most thing that gets us going, and we're probably not the most authority. I mean, if you want the Horus Heresy analyst, go and speak to Mr. Kimmel over at Radio Free Fan. The guy knocks it out of the park, Ryan does, when it comes to list. And he's where I go when I send him a list, and he sends me a message back going, "It's not legal, Tom," and sorts my list out. So Ryan is top notch. And they've done some stuff where they've done intros. They've done intros into units, so they've gone through the Praetors and your basic units and stuff and given some real good detail on them, so they're really good. So what we're going to do then, we're going to do a music break first, or are you going to go straight into our interview?
We'll have a little musical break, but I'll introduce it before before the musical break, and when you come back after the music, you'll have the interview. So I had a little.
Yeah, this is your baby.
Well, it's not my baby. It's Dominic's baby, really. So I had a little chat with a guy called Dominic Staylaker. Now, just before Christmas, I think it was about a week before Christmas, there was a video doing the rounds on some of the heresy groups on Facebook. It was about 9 minutes long, and Dominic had built and painted 8 heresy armies in a year, which he's been playing at Warhammer World events, and they're all plastics really. So he's got a few bits of resin in there, but it's mainly built from cal sets. The video just really interested me, that he's walking around this big 8x4 table with his armies all displayed on, talking about how he built the list, and he builds a list, paints the army, and then he wants to try something different, so he tries a different legion and builds something else again. Now, that sounds really daunting to new people. I'm not suggesting that you go out and build 8 armies in a year, but the idea is that watch the video, and a link will be in the show notes, but watch the video and it'll just give you a little bit of inspiration about getting a heresy army painted, especially one that's primarily based on plastic to start with. He's done a few conversions as well, which we'll talk about in the interview. His painting is pretty good. It's tabletop standard stuff. When he describes to me in the interview how he undercoats his models, I was a bit taken back and surprised, because it makes you think, oh my god, what do these models look like? But I'd already seen the video, of course, and the models look fine. But I'll leave that to you to hear yourselves when you listen to the interview. But it's non-conventional, but it works. And these models are clean and tidy, and you'll see that if you watch the video. And please do go and click on the link in the show notes and watch the video. But Dominic talks about his his painting and why he's done it, and his approach to gaming. It's not everything that every heresy player will do, but I think it's good to hear for beginners that you can build a usable army from your plastics to get you started, and that you can paint an army in a short period of time, which is what we're going to talk about after that interview. We're going to talk a bit about painting your armies and things. So have a listen. It won't be the way everyone likes to do their hobby, but he's a nice guy, and it's just interesting to hear how he's done it. Yeah, absolutely, it's cool. But
so I think me and you, Stu, we're definitely. I mean, we talk about painting, and we're both looking at entering Golden Demons. We're not saying we're going to win them at all. But that is the kind of where our hobby is at, that kind of level. I'm sitting here looking at fucking oil paints and airbrushes and white spirit and all kinds of racks of paint on my desk. Because that's the way me and you do our hobby. And what we found interesting with Dominic was you can produce a good-looking army, a fully painted, nice-looking army, without having to go to these kind of levels that we do. And it was a very interesting contrast to the way me and Stu approach our hobby, because you'll probably listen to us and we're going to try and not get too mad in the army painting section, because we can go pretty nuts if we want to talk about stuff, and all kinds of different techniques and stuff. But you don't have to paint to that level to put a good-looking army on the table. You can be a closer in a short amount of time with without having to spend. Again, you guys probably saw on our social media me putting pictures of lamps and stuff up from my desk. I'm lucky enough, I'm fortunate enough to have a proper painting studio. Stu, you've got your man cave. It goes to show that you don't need to have that kind of setup either to paint good armies, because I think he said Dominic, he's got quite a limited setup due to having family and children. So it'll be a good contrast to what we do. So enjoy listening to Dominic, and we'll catch up with you guys in a bit.
And welcome back after that short break. Now it's just Stuart here at the moment. I've recorded this interview with someone I've been wanting to speak to for a couple of weeks, Dominic Statebaker. So welcome to the show, Dominic.
Hi, thanks very much for having me.
No problem at all. Happy you can come on. Now, just before Christmas, I was on Facebook as usual, wasted my hours away, and I came across a video that Dominic had posted where he had painted 8 heresy armies in a year, fully painted. This video is about 9 or 10 minutes long, and I thought this is really interesting. Most people don't paint that many armies in a year, and it also fits in really well with the beginner stuff that we're talking about at the moment. Now, I'm not suggesting any beginners go out there and paint 8 armies in a year, but Dominic uses primarily the Calth box sets, so I thought it was a really good example of how you could build your armies. And also, you don't need to go out and spend loads of money on forge rod resin to start with if you don't have the cash or the funds. So let's have a little chat with Dominic and find out a bit more about these 8 armies. So 8 armies, tell us a little bit more.
Well, I never intended to do 8 armies. I should point that out off the bat. I did intend to do 1 army. My buddy Alex had been hassling me for some time to play 30k. I've been playing 40k and with Alex, and he's been saying, "Oh yeah, Heresy's much better." I think on hindsight, I think now he is mostly saying that because I think, like a lot of 40k players, he was a bit tired of getting spanked on by Tau and Eldar. So he said, "Oh, there's none of that in 30k." So I think that was the inspiration for me to 30k. I said, "Oh, come on then, I'll give it a go." And so, I think I probably decided to when the Calth set came out. I don't think I'd even entertained the idea of playing Heresy before that. It's just too expensive for me. But as I said, that Calth set is such a great deal, and so I thought, as I said in the video, I wrote an army list. and I built and painted it, and I had it ready within a month or so. So I was playing my buddy Alex with my Imperial Fist 30k Space Marines, and that's a really cheap army. It was I think I can't remember. It's more than 100 models, and it's 3 Cal sets, which is what I buy them for £76 from a independent game store. So that's £220 plus a couple of cheap rhinos. Say I don't know, another 30. I can't even remember what's in my Imperial Fist army. Anyway, but basically it's about 250 quid, and I don't know how many resin Marines that'll buy on Forge Worlds, but not a lot. So that's where I started, with just the one Legion, and it's only after I realised that vanilla Space Marines tend to not actually kill a lot. Maybe I need to rethink an army, and as I said in the video, rather than add on units to it, I just started a new Legion entirely, because I think, like many of us, it's always nice if you can play with different armies, because by the time I'd made that decision, I'd played it, I don't know, about a dozen times, and I thought, now it's time for a change.
So I suppose with 8 armies now, you're getting to the stage where you could host your own event and people just turn up with their dice, and you'll be able to as long as you've got a room big enough and enough tables and things. Now,
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you're right. And since the Shattered Legions information came out, that's opened up a whole plethora of opportunities for mixing them up. I've got a pretty fruity combo I've got in my head, which involves mixing up Death Guard and Imperial Fists in what I think will be a great combo, but I've yet to do that.
So what armies have you done then? So we talked about 8 armies. For those of us, for the listeners who have not seen the video and they can't see it in glorious colour as you walk around a massive 8x4 table with them all lined up, what armies have you painted so far?
Okay, so these armies are all around the 2,500 point mark, roughly. So I did Imperial Fists, and then Death Guard, and then World Eaters, and then Salamanders, and then Night Lords, and then Blood Angels, and I'm starting to forget.
I should have been counting. I can't counting as you were saying.
I've only counted 6. Bear with me. Word Bearers, and
it'll come back to you.
I can't recall the other one. I think that illustrates my point, is that I kind of retire them. Yeah. I build them, I paint them, I play them, half a dozen times, and then I retire them and I move on. It's not often that I've gone back to play an old Legion.
Yeah, I understand. I can say it's almost a problem if you're going that many. You haven't got time to go and play the other Legions. But I think it's a pretty impressive feat, even if you don't stick with the same army for very long. But
thank you. As I said, I never set out to do it. I just kept seeing different combos and different ideas for how I could play differently and how I could play better, and that's really what inspired me. I think I'm different than a lot of people. Let me phrase this. So I am competitive. When I say in the video that I don't want to play in a nasty manner, and that's true. And I don't want to present my opponent with an army which I think is not going to be fun to play against. I think there's a lot less of those armies in 30k than there are in 40k. But I wouldn't like to face. I forget the new Right of War, which makes Predators a scoring unit. I forget what that's called. And I wouldn't like to go up against an all Imperial Knight list. But I am competitive, and I do like to win games. So even though I've got armies that yield a lot of death on the board, my stuff dies. I like to make sure that I've got plenty of punch to deal back out, so I can potentially win games as well. And that's why I keep writing the lists to be better. I think that's the thing. Oh, how can I do better? Oh, I need some of that particular unit. So that's what happens.
I think Heresy's set up to be like that anyway. And a lot of people that don't play Heresy think that, well, why would anyone want to play that? It's Marine on Marine. But the individual Legion rules and the Rite of War give so much flavour, which you're experiencing by playing all these different lists.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really different. Although the units I'm doing the legions I'm doing more recently have all revolved around melee combat. I think so I'm doing Night Lords and Blood Angels and World Eaters, and all three of those legions are really really geared towards melee, which is, definitely pretty weak in 40k and 30k, but I'm prepared to give it a go.
Yeah, I think. I think World Eaters do all right with their chain axes. But you've been using Blood Angels as well. How you been getting on with the Day of Revelations? Is the Rite of War you've been using?
That's exactly right. Yeah. It's well, I've only had a couple of games, and it's okay. It's not great, but I haven't actually fought against any other Space Marines with it yet. It's only been against I don't know the term, the like solo auxiliary and like some cultists and stuff like that. So they're all just chaff anyway. So, and I think the real kicker for that Rite of War is the one that is forgotten about, is the +1 initiative when you assault, and that for Marine on Marine, that's a real peach. So and I haven't actually used that yet, so I'll let you know.
Well, I think if you, like you say talking about playing competitively or liking to win, I think they're different things, and I think with a lot, Heresy is very beat face anyway, just naturally by the stuff that you have in your lists. So it's all big tanks and big hard hitting characters and things, and I think that both sides tend to have that. You're talking about playing night lists and things. Sometimes you can come up against a list that it can be a complete mismatch, and then it's not too fun for either person. So I can imagine if you've got very infantry heavy lists to do with your Calth boxes, then certain lists with a lot of super heavies or Primarchs or lots of knights or something, then you may have a bit of an issue. But against other sort of general mixed arms type of lists, I imagine you have some pretty good games.
Right. Yeah. I think they're mostly good games, but I like to play Maelstrom missions because if you look on forums, on Facebook groups and stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff that people whine about. They do whine about night lists, and there's a lot of whining about flyers, and it doesn't really happen in 30k, but in 40k, Death Stars. But flyers and Death Stars are all very well, but you know what? They're not going to capture flags, or a Death Star can capture one flag, but there's 6 on the board in a Maelstrom game, and flyers never capture any flags because they're flying high. They can't. So I find a lot of the stuff that people dislike is not nullified, but certainly lessened in Maelstrom games.
I think they do quite a mix of Heresy events now, so I think you can pick the flavour depending on what you're into, whether you wanted a narrative event or whether you wanted to go for the straight flowing styles, which is good because it caters for different kind of players. So let's talk a bit about your approach to painting then, because your armies look great on the video, look really really good, nice bright clean colours. So
thank you.
How do you what sort of methods do you use for painting quickly and getting that many models done in a short space of time?
Thanks. Well, I think firstly, I only pick legions that have got bright colours. I don't know, you might have noticed that, but I've got no interest in doing Iron Hands or Iron Warriors or Raven Guard or whatever, because I like my armies to ping on the table. I like them to be able to, you can see them. I don't want them to be very dark colours. So that's I think that would be perhaps a bit of advice for anyone, just if they don't have a particular affinity towards one legion or the other, just go for one with nice bright colours. If I ever do another legion, it'll be Emperor's Children, I think, just because I really fancy a bright purple army. So I think pick a nice bright colour, and I think I think my biggest advice is so I studied fine art at school, and I always remember a bit of advice that my one teacher taught me when I started to learn to paint. I could draw all right, but I wasn't a very good painter. And he says the first thing you've got to do is you've got to dirty the canvas. And apparently all painters do this. If you've got a big white canvas, they chuck loads of paint all over it, and then they correct it and they fix it and they modify it. And I think that also applies to painting miniatures. I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to just get stuck in there. I think because there's a lot of advice online about how the best way to paint miniatures are, and paint the weapons and the heads separately and stuff like that. But I think the biggest challenge for all beginning painters has got to, well, not for beginning painters, for me as well, is the biggest challenge is morale, and it can be really, really, really sapping if you've got this big tray of stuff that's unbuilt, unpainted, and staring up at you, and it can be quite demoralizing. So I take any shortcut I can to advance things quicker. Now listen, if you're the type of guy that enjoys spending months over a single figure, then this doesn't apply to you, and if you're happy with that, that's totally fine. But I'm absolutely of the mind that get it off the sprue immediately, get it stuck together in the first weekend you have free, or the first night you have free. There's no point messing around. Just get through that quickly and get it undercoated as quickly as you can as well, because that's really big. That's a messy job. I do all my undercoating with a brush rather than a spray can, by the way. But So I use just because I don't really have an indoor space to spray stuff properly, and that can be, so that's a hurdle again. You see, it's and I've heard people say that, I've got to wait till summer or until it's a nice day, or so it's not humid. So that's a hurdle. So you've got to get over that hurdle, and it doesn't matter, in my opinion, if it's not the best results. As long as it's getting done, that's good as far as I'm concerned. So I use just regular house paint, thinned down to about a quarter. Just regular emulsion that you stick on a wall. So I use a few browns normally, sort of like lightish brown colours. Water that down, slap it all over with just a really big brush, and that's my undercoat. And then I do the whole model with that big bright colour. So if it's Blood Angels, I slap. If it's the Night Lords, it's a big blue all over it. You do the whole model. Don't worry about getting over bits of the gun or bits over, the first, the whole model needs to be one colour, and you do the entire army. I know it sounds big, but yeah. So I have a tray which has got about 80 models on average. So I paint 80 guys, all blue, from all of them, and that's all I'll do that one particular night, everything blue. And then the next time I have a couple of hours free, I get out the tray and I'll do a black wash over absolutely everything, and then I put it away for the night. And then the next time I have some free time, I'll do a little bit of highlighting. So I do a whole pass, as it was, over the entire army, doing the same thing, and it can get quite demoralizing. I will admit that. And every now and then I sort of treat myself by allowing myself to finish a couple of models just on their own. But that's how I get it done, because you got to be able to see progress, of the whole army. So I don't know. Yeah, that's how I do it.
Okay, well, I can definitely understand the getting through lots and lots of loads and loads of models. I'm a commissioned painter, so I tend to do some numbers and things. I've never used emulsion, right. I must admit. I do spray, and even in this weather, I will spray. If you warm the can first, and you're a bit smart where you do it, you can get it to work. So you don't always have to make sure that it's above 15 degrees. If you warm the can in a bowl of hot water, there go tips, everyone. And even if you stand inside your shed with the door open or something like that, it's generally warm enough for you to be able to prime. But
Right.
I definitely agree with the just get some paint on it thing. Not everyone's going to paint to Golden Demon standards, and I'd much rather see people with painted models on a table that have made an effort, rather than the excuse of, well, I'm not really good at painting, that's why I haven't painted. And I'd much rather see people have a go. But
exactly, I think that you're absolutely right, because I think that's the thing. I think people can get intimidated by stuff they see online, and they say, wow, that's such a good paint job, and they almost don't even start. I'm exactly with you. I'd much rather see someone's badly painted army than just grey plastic, and I think as long as people have a crack, then even just having an army that's just yellow, they're Imperial Fists, just make them just yellow all over. I mean, that takes no time at all to do. Just use a yellow spray, do the whole thing, throw a wash over it, or even dunk it with army painter, and then base it, and you could do that in an afternoon. That's an entire army, and I'm sure everyone would much rather play with and against that. And I don't think it takes a lot. I think you need to realise your limits, I guess. If you've got an army that's been sat unpainted for a year, I think you need to acknowledge that maybe that you're not approaching it in the right way. So waiting for that perfect moment where the stars align and and you're going to paint it in exactly the manner that you imagined you were going to do. Maybe you have to think, well, I'm not going to paint it in that perfect way, so I'll just paint it in a not quite as good way, which is quicker and doesn't scare me, so which doesn't keep throwing hurdles that make you procrastinate about it.
Procrastinate, even me. I'll go to start a day's work painting, and I'll spend half an hour tidying my desk before I do it. But
right,
I totally agree about getting the painted armies on the table. I'm really, really passionate about that. Tom and I have been talking a lot about that recently. And like you say, spray the model one colour, give it a wash, maybe paint on the bolter silver, and then I think the big bit for me is actually basing then. And anyone
I completely agree
with the GW basing stuff at the moment, literally straight out the pot on there, bit of a wash in it, and then paint the rims of your bases. It frames them. It's like putting a frame around a picture, and it just, no matter how scruffy your painting is, it will look great on the tabletop, especially from 2 or 3 feet away. So absolutely agree.
I couldn't agree more. The base, I absolutely agree. The basing is really, and I get my basing on pretty quickly actually. I think that's it. As soon as you've got the model, as long as the feet are painted roughly right, then just get, I just get brown paint. I do the whole base with just like a brown emulsion, and then I glue some sand to the top. I add some tufts. Tufts are brilliant at 5p a pop. They're amazing. Couple of tufts on, and it's done. And it's very easy, very simple to do. And it's just a much more rewarding experience to play with a painted army, and everyone enjoys playing against painted armies. So I think it's a great thing to go for.
Agree. Absolutely. So you've done a few conversions in your armies, haven't you? I suppose is it partly a cost saving thing, but also making use of
absolutely
older plastic models as well. So I noticed you got some of the vintage Road Trader style rhinos, and you made some laser destroyers as well out of rhinos. Is that and converted? Was that? I think that's. I'm trying to remember back to the video now.
That's right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, no, it's all cost. There's no way I can say I think the I think the old ones look better. They don't. It's just cost. It's just I haven't got the money to spend on big block. Well, I have bought a few big blocks of resin, but I feel pretty guilty about it. I've got a wife and kids in the mortgage, so it feels a bit. I can't really, look them in the eye when I'm spending hundreds of pounds on resin. So it's all about cost. So I don't think I can justify £26 on a Forge World Rhino, but I'm happy to spend a tenner on a beaten up one on eBay. And the Vindicator Laser Destroyers, I mean, I think the Forge World one looks terrific. It looks absolutely great. But that's, again, I think it's about 60 quid. And the ones I've got were, I don't know, it's just a regular Predator, like picked off eBay for like 15 quid, I think. And Buddies just gave me las cans to stick onto it. So yeah, all my conversions aren't. I don't think they look any better. They're just cheaper, and and obviously the army required it. So I think those Vindicators, Laser Destroyers were just an answer to big nasty things smashing my face. So I thought, well, I need something that's going to crack them apart. And hey, guess what? 3 strength 9 ordnance shots, twin linked. Really does the job,
and they look great as well. And I'm going to put the link to the video in our show notes. But I do encourage your listeners to go and actually have a look at this, because you can hear us talking about some quite odd things like painting with emulsion and undercoating with a brush rather than the spray can and things. But honestly, whatever you're picturing as a listener at home now, these armies look great. So watch the video and you'll be really impressed about how nicely they are and how nicely they look, and the conversions are good. It's all very neat and clean, and it's I was really, really impressed when I saw it on the video.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, they're not weathered. Everyone keeps saying you've got to weather them, and I just haven't had the balls yet to do that to them, because I haven't really weathered anything. I think that's a very much a 30k style rather than 40k, and I will get around to it one day. But I think, I'll get around to it one day. Because it does look good when people wear the stuff.
I do on all my stuff. It's very much a kind of a military kind of crossover into 30k. The commission I'm doing at the moment is a non-weathered one. It's an Emperor's Children one for a client who wants it all looking like fresh off the show court kind of quality. So it's going to feel a bit odd weathering at the end of it. But I do love weathering stuff. And if you want any tips and things, I'll happily help you out with that, because I've done quite a bit.
Thank you. Yeah, well, they all looked like that once upon a time when it came off the production line.
They did. So I think he just wants the perfection of the Emperor's Children. So it will. Yes. I'll let him have him the way he wants. So right then. So I won't keep you anymore. Thank you very much for coming on the show and talking about your massive amount of armies.
You're very welcome.
Taking up your time this evening. Have you got anything you want to plug, a local club you want to plug, or a YouTube channel, or anything that you're part of, or a blog or anything?
As I said in the video, I go to a club in Uxbridge which is called Battle Ux, and really the main purpose of my video was I want to play against other people. I want to play 30k against other people, and ideally people with painted armies. So even if one person shows up to the Battle Ux Club in Uxbridge, which is West London, Middlesex, and say, "Hey, are you that guy? Here's my painted 30k army," then I'm happy. That'll be terrific. So do come along. If
you're in the area and you're looking for a heresy game, especially if it's painted, look out for the club. You have to send me a link to if they've got a Facebook page or a website or something, and I'll stick that in the show notes as well. Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Lord Marshal Great, sir. Legion reinforcements now visible on the left flank.
About time. The wolves, I see.
No, sir. Ultramarines, sir.
But they're wearing grey, Proclamator Fennec.
Fox message said new recruit, sir. No time to paint armour. All Legion reinforcements to the right, sir.
Thank you, Fennec. Good to see the scars correctly presented.
Sorry, sir. It's more Ultramarines. You issue armour. Prime white. No time to paint, sir.
Shocking. At least the Raven Guard are in black armour.
Sorry, sir. That's more Ultramarines.
For Emperor's sake, fox them and find out why.
Yes, sir. Apparently, also new armour, sir. But the sergeant says it's okay. Their eye lenses are red and the bolt guns are silver. He said 3 colours minimum, sir.
What the? Get on the Vox now and tell them to contact Miniature Realm Studio.
Miniature Realm Studio, sir?
Yes, Fennec. Miniature Realm Studio offers a commission painting service, competitive rates, and a range of painting standards to suit most budgets and requirements.
Yes, sir. Very good, sir. I suppose they do say that fully painted is for closers.
What does that even mean, Fennec?
I don't know, sir. No one really does, sir.
Miniature Realms Studio can be found on Facebook, on Twitter at Miniature Realms, on Instagram at Miniature Realms Studio, or just drop Stuart an email at miniaturerealmstudio@gmail.com.
Welcome back then, guys. That was Stu and Dominic having a chat, and hopefully you found it interesting and give you some ideas and showed that you can be 8 times closers if you get your finger out and paint. Chris paint 1 model. Dominic painted 8 armies. Get your finger out. So we're going to go in and talk about army painting, because I think one of the most daunting things for people, and something I see a lot of people do, is they buy a fuck ton or they have a load of models, and suddenly you're faced with, oh shit, how am I going to get this done? And I think the first thing was an interesting thing that was picked up I picked up on a while ago. Somebody said, I can't remember who, and I'm not going to give them credit because I don't know who they were. Actually, the worst thing you can do is build all your army first. And I see a lot of people do this. They get all their models, they get all the boxes, they cut everything out, they clip it all out, they build all the army, and suddenly they're faced with a huge wall of models, and it looks daunting. It's like, oh shit, I've got all of that to paint. So I never build everything all together. I know you do, Stu, because I know your Solar Orcs is all built, but I wouldn't do that. What I'll do is I'll get a unit. So I've, like my knight has sat there unbuilt, unassembled in its bag until I was ready to do it. And the same with, I think the biggest batch I did recently, I built the Quad Mortar, the Dreadclaw and the Dorado together. And I did those as a batch, and I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't enjoy it that much. It felt very daunting. I was pushing myself to get it done because I was on a tight schedule to get them done for an event, which I've knocked out of the park to do. But I found it like a bit daunting having just that pile there. So what I've been doing with my army is, so with my infantry, I built 10 Marines. I painted 10 Marines. I then built something else and painted that, and I built 10 more Marines and painted that. And I do that quite regularly. I think I've talked to you before, Stu, where when I do infantry, I'll tend to do a unit of infantry and then reward myself with something big or something more interesting, a character or something else like that.
Yeah, it's a really
and
nice
then go back to another. Yeah. So I mean, that's my personal opinion. I know you're definitely of a different opinion to me, because you definitely like to build everything and paint it. But I find psychologically I'm better if I have like a unit on the desk to do. I do that unit and then move on to the next unit.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't disagree with you, actually. I can totally understand why people do it that way, and I think the majority of people would agree with you, and that would work for them. I think it comes down to the individual and what makes you tick. I think if you're already a gamer and you've done a bit of painting and you understand what motivates you and what doesn't, so if a sea of models does put you off, then absolutely do what Tom suggested.
Yeah.
I quite like to see work moving on at pace, so I do tend to do large batches, and it might be as simple as I want to use the same colour, so I'm going to use it on everything, especially if you're airbrushing, because there's a paint mix and stuff up. So, and because I do commissions, I tend to have to work this way. So someone that's probably worn, come over from a work point of view, and also with heresy armies, I mean, we're talking about generally, if you've got Marines, you've got a lot of power army, which is all got to have a certain base colour. Other game systems where different units are very different models and different types and different colours, I probably would just build a unit and paint it and work from there. But if I know that I've got to, say, with my fist, for example, hit yellow on all of it, chances are I might well do it all. This week, my work this week has been painting some Emperor's Children, which I mentioned earlier in the show, and I think I did 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 tanks. I think I'm working on all in one go. And I think I had a long day. I worked sort of 9 till 6, and then I had to put my son to bed and had some tea, and then went out and did another 4 hours. So I did a massive day, but that was, I built all the weapon sponsors and magnetised and primed, pre-highlighted 2 layers, so grey and then white, and then did 2 layers of purple on all those tanks in that time. And those of you would have seen those of you on our Instagram or Facebook would have probably seen the pictures. So that's the way I like to work, because I've moved that along in a big way in one big session. It's a bit different when I do my own stuff. I would never do that many. I wouldn't have that many tanks in my army, but I wouldn't do quite that many. But if I've got 30 Marines, say, so I was looking at, if I go back to the example of the list so we were talking about earlier, I wouldn't just paint the 10. I'd build all 30, and I would probably at least do the first stages, the airbrush stages. I would prime, I would do any pre-highlighting and do the first couple of airbrush stages, and then maybe unit at a time I would go back and do the finishing touches. So I might break it down, so then I might go back and do all the detailing, all of the washing and weathering, finish a unit, then treat myself to a character, then go do another unit. So a bit of a mix, but I totally get where you're coming from with it.
I think that definitely goes back to what you were saying about knowing what makes you tick, and I think that definitely shows the differences between the way me and you operate in the hobby a bit. See, I paint as a hobbyist. I am a hobbyer strictly because I'm not I'm not doing commissions and things. So I'm very much I do it the way I want to do it, and I'm looking at as a hobbyist. Whereas I think you're looking at it. You've taken the business side, and that is influencing the way you make your decisions. So your work process. See, my work process is very much, I want to paint this, so I'll paint this. Whereas you are looking sort of even in your own stuff, I need to do this efficiently and get it done in a the best way possible for efficiency's sake. So I think that definitely is what makes you tick as a painter. Now, there are, we've mentioned airbrushing, and airbrushing to me has been a revelation in stepping up my painting quality. I actually think it's a misnomer that airbrushing makes you faster.
Yes, yeah,
because
I agree.
I think I definitely, when I bought an airbrush, I thought this is going to speed up my painting. It doesn't. It doesn't, because you access a different set of techniques. What it does is allow you to create certain effects easier, but those effects still take time. I definitely don't paint faster with my airbrush, but I achieve a better result.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Or at least so I feel. So that's one thing. Don't get sucked into.
It tricks you, I think, because it'd be very easy to say, use the example of the tanks I've done. You look at them and they actually look quite cool already, and someone will look at that and go, "Oh, you've nearly done them. Look, the purple's it's not. I've got to do more of the purple anyway." But you could leave the purple as it is, but you could trick yourself into thinking, well, I've done the main colour of them down. They've all got colour on them. I've only got the detail bits to do, and that's the bits that take the long time.
See, I reckon I could. My old method before airbrushing was the GW coloured rattle cans.
Yeah, definitely.
Wash and dry brush. I reckon I could have, with a purple airbrush, a purple rattle can, I could have base coated, washed, and dry brushed those tanks that you've been doing quicker than you airbrushed them. But it would not look like what you produce, So having an airbrush is not necessarily makes you faster. It definitely allows you to do different things with it. But it's again about your process. See, when I'm all my 40k stuff worked through a similar method: base coat with a rattle can, wash, recess wash, and then dry brush a highlight onto them, especially the vehicles, and they're fine. They're great. That's what I wanted to do with them. This is a GW system, and it works. So you may look at, I think I'm trying to say, and I'm not saying it very well, is find the method that works for you in terms of army painting. I wouldn't go back to not using my airbrush now, but that's because I like what I can do with it. But it's not necessarily because it's the fastest way to paint. It's because I like the way it paints, if that makes sense.
And don't use... I see a lot of people that put off doing things based on techniques they haven't learned. So sometimes it's a matter of just having a go. But I also see people that think, right, I want to make this army look awesome. One day I'm going to learn how to use that airbrush, but they've never even broken the cellophane off the box, and it stays unpainted. The army never gets painted, or a certain thing never gets painted, because they've promised themselves that I'm gonna wait until I can do that best, and then they never do it. So if you're that kind of person, again, just sort of challenge yourself and think, actually, am I gonna get round to learning to do that, or should I get this table in a more basic standard on the table painted, and then that, I'll tell you what, that will give you that motivation to then learn further techniques, not painting at all because you're worried about breaking your models, effectively making them look bad. Actually prevents you from progressing and making yourself better. So you're better off thinking, well, I don't know how to airbrush. I see all these beautiful armies online on the GW website, on the Forge World website. They look amazing. I can't do that yet, so I'm not going to paint them. Or tell you what, I'm gonna find some techniques that suit my style now, get them painted, get them on the table, and it will drive your passion for painting and getting them better. Or it won't, and if it doesn't, it's not a problem. But you've got a painted army. You just can't go wrong with it. I know these things aren't cheap, but if you know that you're the kind of guy that you've decided to do heresy, or guy, decided you're going to do heresy, and you've bought your models, and you want to learn to airbrush, and you put yourself an MKA, that's fine. Yeah, wait, do the course. But if it's a bit of a misnomer that you're not actually going to get around to doing, it's likely that they'll sit unpainted or just primed for years, and you'll play all your games like that. Don't fall into that trap. Actually have a go, and there's some good basic techniques for getting your armies looking good on the tabletop, and that's Tom and I are both really passionate about that. It's not about being the best painter, it's about having a go, making an effort, getting some paint on them, and doing a few, well, I think we'll probably talk about this a bit, but there's a few simple things you can do to make a model look finished enough to look good on the table and no one question that it's painted or not. It's definitely something we'll be enforcing at events in the future. I think we even talked about this a little bit at the end of the last show as well.
Yeah, fully painted or fuck off.
Absolutely.
My attitude to painting is I don't care if you're a golden demon painter or you're just a keen painter, at the most basic tabletop standard. I would rather play your basically painted, very simply painted army than a grey plastic swarm. I'm not interested in playing grey plastic. I played 40k for 2 years when I got back into it, and it's one of the things that pushed me off it. I didn't enjoy the fact that I had a couple of reasons for it. I always said I'd never put a model on the table that was unpainted, but actually one of the reasons for that was it forced me to paint the stuff I got, to stop me buying loads of stuff and having unpainted stuff. It kind of helped me not spend too much and keep my hobby under control, and meant that when I bought something I wanted, it made me paint as well, because I thought, I bought this, I want to put it on the table, so I've got to paint it, and it kind of gave me the motivation to paint. So it kind of worked both ways. And I was sitting there thinking, when I've put all this time and effort in, I've spent my hours painting, why do I want to pay your grey plastic army that is breaking my immersion? Especially, luckily, at the club we play at regularly, where we've got access to mats for every table and good quality scenery that is well painted. The table's painted, scenery's painted, the table looks great, my army's painted. Oh great, look, there's a swarm of plastic. That's killed my immersion. And it's one of the things that brought me to Heresy, was the fact that it seemed to be a much bigger push to get it painted. Now, again, I don't care if you paint, it's the first model you've ever fully painted, or you've won 5 golden demons. If it's painted, it's painted, and it looks better than unpainted. So, trying to push people on. And there are some, as Stu said, some very simple things you can do. I mean, I remember, I've got him somewhere, when I got back into the hobby, one of the first models I bought was the GW Chaplain with a plasma pistol. And he was actually metal, I think. I actually bought him metal from GW, which was amazing. I painted all the base colours on like I'd been doing on all my other models, and I decided to try a wash. I think even the guy at GW had taught me into it, and I bought a pot of Nullin oil, and I put this wash over the whole model, and Jesus Christ, it made the model look 10 times better. Just a wash. Suddenly the colours had contrast, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. And it was so easy, and so the next stage then was highlighting. I tried a dry brush, and dry brushing took a little while for me to get right, because I didn't quite get the principle, and learning how little paint you need on it is the first thing. But suddenly I had a model that was base coloured, washed and highlighted, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. For me, it looked amazing, and it was very simply done, and then I put some sand on a base and painted it green, and was like, yeah, goblin green bases, they're fucking excellent.
You're too young for that era, Tom. That was never an excuse.
No, I played Goblin Green bases, mate. I was very young and I didn't play for long, but I played Goblin Green bases. and I'm so annoyed Chips painted over his Goblin Green bases. I had such a go at him in the pub. No, I wanted to match the rest of my army. I said, you pussy. Should have kept them Goblin Green bases.
I think it's got its place. I quite like it on a sort of period-looking army, the 1990s. If someone's had that army and they painted it in the 90s and it's complete and done and finished, I quite like the fact that some people have kept their old armies looking like that. But yeah, I definitely, if you're still adding to an army, I kind of agree with what Chip's done. It makes sense to rebase them. It makes such a difference.
Yeah.
So we're talking about. We don't want to come across as you're new to the hobby and scare people off by saying if you don't paint it, you're a twat. Go away, do something else. But Heresy is very different to a lot of war games. Some war games it is very acceptable to not paint your miniatures because they're rules-driven games. Heresy's not a rules-driven game, not really. I believe it's a model and hobby-driven game. It's a narrative-driven game. It's not there because of rules balance. So the majority of people that play it don't play it so that they can bring dick-kicking lists to the table and prove their generalship, because there's far more competitive games to prove your generalship on. It's generally because people want that immersion that Tom's been talking about. So painted is the way to go, but it doesn't mean you need to be brilliant at it. It just means you have a go. So if you've never painted anything before and you've got a Legion, find a rattle can, a spray can. We call it a rattle can. People might wonder what we're talking about. Find a spray can, the colour that you need. Now, don't just get any old spray can. You don't want to get an enamel spray can. You don't want to hit it with Hammerite or anything like that. The best ones to use are the GW spray cans. Are really good. Army Painter do coloured sprays. Be careful with them. They're a little bit more temperamental than the GW ones. I think Army Painter have done some flames as well now. You can pretty much get any colour you need for any Legion. Spray all your models that one colour, and then, like Tom said, buy a wash from GW, buy a non-oil, buy a Agrax Earthshade. There's lots of washes that will give you shadow to your model. Then take silver, take a GW silver, take an Army Painter silver, take a Vallejo silver or something, paint the weapon silver, give that a wash as well, and then base your model. So add sand, like Tom said, and paint it, or even buy again a GW ready mixed Agrellan Earth paint, put that on, and then paint the rim of your bases black. You've got to paint your rim of your bases black, none of this brown GW bullshit. I'm only joking. That's just my personal opinion. Black rims, always black rims. But do that, and your model will look absolutely fine off the table. So we're not saying we're painting elitists. You must spend hours and hours doing it, but everyone is capable of using a spray can. Everyone is capable of hitting most of the right parts of a bolt gun silver, and everyone's capable of painting brown mucky mixture on the flat of a base and then painting the rims of a base black. You really are, unless you have some real reason where you can't do it, so your physical or reason that you can't do it, some illness or something, you can do it, and I don't think it's any excuse not painting your models because you're not very good at it. Have a go, get them right, and then play your games. That's the kind of the minimum expectation I'd expect to play games of Heresy, because it like we said all along, it's about immersion, it's about that overall look. And from 2 feet away, you'll hear this talked about a lot, from 2 foot away, that will look fine on the table. Won't look as good as some, but it will look fine. And I think that don't make excuses for not having painted stuff. Anyone can do that and have a go at it. And then you can add more techniques and skills, and you go and watch Duncan on Warhammer TV, and he will show you how to dry brush on video. He'll show you how to do lots of different skills with the paints that GW provide. And I don't use many GW paints, but they're a brilliant starting point if you're a new painter. I definitely recommend starting with them, and then as you get your basic techniques down, you can start to sort of look at different manufacturers and alternatives out there. But definitely a starting point if you're using a Legion, and we based this new stuff around Space Marines. Basically, it's power armor, spray it one color and work from there. I think it works really well. I don't know about yourself, Tom. I think we've talked about this basic level that we want to see at events and things. No excuses for unpainted armies. I don't know if you've got anything to add on the basic spray can thing.
No, I mean it's the fundamental place to start, and I mean, yeah, as you said, Stu, you don't need to paint to a Golden Demon standard. Nobody's saying you've got to be the world's best painter, but it's so much better when shit's painted. It's just so much better when stuff's painted and it's gone. And just have a go. I mean, I literally started off 3 years ago, having not painted for probably 15 years, and even when I was a kid, I was a crap painter. I didn't like painting, and the only reason I've got to the point where I think I paint to a reasonable standard now is practice. Practice. I just paint. I just keep painting. I mean, one day I'll take a picture of one of the first models I painted and put it against something I've painted recently, and you'll see the difference. And we all started off from somewhere. We all got to paint, and the only way I've got better is by practicing, the same as you used to. You just keep painting and painting and painting, and we get better and better and better.
Learn new skills as and when you need them. So I've used the airbrush a lot more in the last sort of 12 months because I'm painting a lot more armor and tanks and power armor and things. You didn't use the airbrush so much on the sort of the War Machine and Horse models. Yes, some of them it works perfectly with, but when you're painting sort of basically L's with skin showing all over the place, then it's not quite as easy to the really skilled airbrushes out there can paint whole models with an airbrush, but most airbrushes can't. And you find the skills and the tools you need to do what you need to do. So there's a lot of military modelling type techniques used in Heresy, and if you go back to the rattle can example I was just talking about, you're not going to ruin your models unless you spray it too close and too thick. So as long as you can avoid doing that, and you spray the model one colour, and you do a wash, and you paint the guns like I said, and follow that process, you can actually go back to those models and add more layers. Do more techniques. You're not ruining anything, but you've got them painted and ready for the tabletop. You can then go back when your hand's a bit steady, you've used the brush a bit more, painting the eye lenses, maybe paint a little bit, paint the cross straps a slightly different colour, and just go back bit by bit and add to them. And then you might think,
try some
by a bit of chipping,
start adding a bit of weathering later.
And you'll read about these things and think, I can go and add that now to the stuff that's already usable on the table, and you'll build up this really nice looking army just by adding stuff as you learn how to do it. And then you might get to the stage where you got the painting bug and you want to learn different ways of painting, and you won't just spray the model anymore. Tom and I never just spray models with a rattle can apart from to prime. And there's a whole load of techniques there, and we could probably talk for hours, and we will do. We're going to do lots of sections on shows, and we talk about different techniques for army painting, using the airbrush and things. So we've got quite a lot planned, and we don't want to go into that now. It's just about kind of getting new players the idea that the expectation is do have a go at painting, but actually you can painting power armor, you can get stuff on the table and get it looking decent enough to play, and you can slowly add to it, and within 6 months you'll have a really good looking army with a bit of weathering and stuff, and there'll be people that have been playing games for years that half their units are still undercoated black, and they've painted one model and it's they've not really done much with it, and yours will look better. So just give it a go.
We're gonna try and include quite a lot of hobby sections in the stuff we're doing this year, alongside the other things that we're going to try and cover. I mean, if there's certain things you want us to cover, give us a shout. If there's a technique, I'm not claiming me and Stu are the authorities on it, but we've had experience. Stu's definitely had experience on trying most things. I've definitely got ideas on things, and so if there's a certain thing you'd like to chat about, drop us a line and say, can you talk to me about from washes and what ways of washing, what's the difference between a wash and a glaze, and or what the bloody hell is a zenithal highlight, or what the bloody hell is highlighting, what's a dry brush, let us know. Or more complicated things, how the hell do I paint a face? I know one of the things we did last year, didn't we? We sat down at a hobby day and we sat there and painted faces, and you really helped me learn to paint faces. So I mean, it's going to be interesting because we're going to try and do a visual thing in a audio medium, but we're going to try and cover these topics as best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. If you see some of our work, we both post a lot. Tom posts more actually, because I tend to post completed rather than work in progress. And half of my painting, sadly, isn't Heresy. So everything there's more of his stuff on our Instagram feed, because you don't want to see our Instagram feed full of War Machine and Hordes models and things. But
I'm got such low self-esteem. I need constant reassurance from the internet anyway, validation. So, go on there and like stuff and make me feel like I'm a proper human being.
But if you see something that we've painted and you want to know about techniques, yeah, you can pop a comment on Instagram. But if it's decent enough, if you say, look, it's something I wouldn't mind hearing in more detail about, ask it, and maybe it's something we can, when we have listener questions at the beginning of the show, we can answer some hobby questions there as well. So I'm quite happy to do that. We're both passionate about painting, so you're going to hear a lot about painting. So if you don't like painting, sorry. If you want decent, all you want to hear about is honed legal lists, then don't listen to me.
No, again, but if you do want to ask us questions about units and stuff, ask away. We will answer anything. But like I said, I mean, I think me and Stu's strength, what we spend more time is painting, and we're going to try and incorporate more hobby stuff this year and do that kind of stuff. We're not going to exclude lists and fluff and everything, but I think it's something where there's a lot of questions, and questions tend to be focused, so we're going to try and help out with that. But cool, we've been quite generic about army painting, but we've talked about, there's two approaches. There's my approach of painting a unit at a time, or Stu's approach of get everything built and then knock it all out. So, find your method that works for you. There are some very simple solutions: rattle can, wash, dry brush. Great, that'll do it. And that thing, I think the definitely bit you got on, Stu, was you can always go back to models. You can paint it to a tabletop standard, get better and better, and think, do you know what? I'm going to go back and touch up those first models I did, or I've now had to go. See, I did some what they call OSL glow on my Atropos, and it's the first time I've really had a good crack at that. And I did lots of pictures and lots of chatting with Stu about how to do it. And I took my time and I pushed myself to do it. And now I'm thinking, I'll go back to a couple of other models and add some bits on with that. Now I've got a hang of it. So you can always go back and do more to models. Cool. I think we'll roll into a little break then, and we'll come back and close the show out then. Right, welcome back, guys. You'll probably notice me and Stu seem less tired now, despite me actually making it to the close down for once and still being alive to do it. Stu forgot to pull out, and we had some technical issues. So there's a message for you all. It is the morning after. Never wake up the morning after realising you forgot to pull out. That's definitely a life lesson for you. So we're gonna do the close down now. Have you pulled out this time, Stu?
I have pulled out.
That's going to make no sense to anybody.
No, not at all.
So we got a couple of events to shout out. There's MKA Sweden. As of last night, there were 2 spots left. I don't know how that's going now. They were looking for, only needed 2 more people to get that magic 40 number where it was going to go ahead. So if you are in Europe, if you are in Sweden, jump on those last 2 places. Honestly, they've been talking about it. The Vangarian guys were talking about it on their last show about it being an investment in your hobby, and it definitely is. I mean, one day I'll show some pictures of pre-MKA and post-MKA, and the skills I learned in May. As you've seen, Stu, I've upped the painting level, and we've just been able to. It's all techniques that last forever. I now know how to do that, and I'll always know how to do it. So, and also send Matt Kane to Sweden. Get him in the cold. He's dealt with spiders in Australia, and he's not too keen on them. So let's see how he deals with the bears in Sweden.
Trolls, isn't it? Or is that somewhere else?
Oh yeah, trolls. Crystal characters, but yeah,
Norway. I don't know.
Norway. Yeah. Well, they. Do you know the old Swedish chef on the Muppets?
Yes. Yeah.
Apparently in Sweden they call him the Norwegian chef.
Brilliant.
But apparently, so there's loads of Swedes going over to Norway, laughing at the Swedish chef, going, he's the Norwegian chef, and all these Norwegians sitting there going, why are they laughing at the Swedish chef, taking the piss out of himself?
I just changed it just for one country, bless. Never mind.
So yeah, anyway, there you go, a bit culture history. There is Scorpius and Scandus over in Sweden. So the Scorpius insurrection brackets Freddy's erection. it is earlier in the year, isn't it? That's mid of the year. August. Scorpius is August, and Scandus is October. And I was just actually listening to Don't Lose Your Heads episode, and they were talking about Scorpius. 3.5K of madness, which is going to be wicked. It's going to be pretty damn wicked. That's on the list for us to try and get to in there. I think Freddie will explode if we don't make it to see him. So we're going to try and make it happen.
I'm going to do my best. I have the provisional yes you can go, but I'll have to raise the cash and hope that something for work doesn't come up for the missus, because I'm the primary child carer in our relationship, so without me being there for a few days, it makes things a little bit difficult for her, so she'll need some time off as well. But hopefully it works well.
Yeah, plans are in place, going to try and make it happen. Also, our good friend Ryan Kimmel's asked us to shout out the Toys for Tot auction, number 4, I believe. And I had issues doing this last night. Fucking hell. Let's have a look at it. So it's on eBay. Search for Freebooters, World Eaters, 30k, Toys for Tot, Charity Army, number 4. We will put a link in the show now. Oh, Jesus Christ. It was $202 last night, wasn't it?
I think so,
I'm pretty sure I said it was like $200. Do you want to hesitate a guess in like, 10 hours what it's changed to? Gone up by
Wow.
400. It's currently standing at $670, and that is frankly amazing. So if you've got cash to spare, go and bid on it. Go and drop some money. If you're gonna, spunk a load of money on something, why not spunk a load of money on something that's gonna help kids? So yeah, go check that out. We'll put a link in the show notes.
That's a sentence that shouldn't be uttered, really, wasn't it? Spunking and then kids. There was only a few words in between that. That's not.
I'm always spunking to help kids.
Dear.
Please don't see it that way, but oh yeah, so if you guys have got any events and stuff to shout out, send them in. We'll get them on the post. Chuck them up in our Facebook group. We're always happy to see Heresy events. We don't want. Actually, I was going to say we don't want invitations to your birthdays, but yeah, sod it. We'll have invitations to your birthdays if you want us to come. But if
there's booze there, you will be there.
I'll be there, yeah, pretty much. If you've got Heresy events, gaming, painting, hobbying, fluff, whatever, stick them in the Facebook group. We've got about 200 people in there now.
It's getting close to it.
And it's growing steadily, so throw them in there. You can come and join our painting adventures on Instagram as well. All the details are at the front of the show, aren't they? So yeah, come and have a look at this. We had a couple of new podcasts to shout out as well, didn't we? I mean, if you're listening to us, you probably definitely found some of our friends on the other podcast, but we've got a full list of podcasts in
the show notes.
The show notes. But who was new? Who was new that we haven't mentioned before?
I think last episode I did give the Combat Phase a shout out, but I'll do it again. They've just released a massive 10 years of Heresy show. It's really, really worth listening to, even if you don't listen to the rest of their casts. So many cool guests on, and me and Nick as well. There's those podcasters on there. There was loads and loads of Black Hole Library authors, including the big names. So Dan was on there, and ADB, and Graham McNeil, and Laurie was on there as well. So some really, really big names. Few little tidbits about what's coming in the future. Some of the authors when they speak. I think ADB lets things slip a little bit sometimes, and you will get a bit of an idea of the sort of march towards terror that we seem to be approaching now. So it's looking quite exciting with that. But worth listening to. It's sort of done 15-20 minute interviews, so while the show's really huge, you can still kind of chip away at it bit by bit when you have a little bit of time. So listen to the Combat Phase. I've got them in my feed. I've listened to them for a little while now. I don't listen to every episode because they're a general wargaming podcast. So if it's mainly AOS focused or something like that, I tend to skip it. Purely because I've got too many podcasts to listen to. There's more podcasts than I have hours in the week now, but I do listen to it quite a lot. They do a great job over there, and they have so many Black Library authors on there that something you're not getting from any of the other Heresy casts. I know Greg has a few of the authors on, but Kenny interviews so many of them. That's really, if you're into your Black Library books, that is the one podcast to go for. So go and give them a check. And there's a Spacemen with Guns podcast as well. So they were the mediocre podcast. They rebranded, and they've just got their second episode out. And this one's a bit longer than the first. And they're worth a listen to. One guy in America, one guy in up north in England, so they must fight with the time zones
north?
a little bit. I think Leeds. I might be wrong, but I think Leeds.
Leeds, dirty Leeds.
Dirty Leeds. Yeah, so they're worth having a listen to as well. It's more heresy content if you've not got enough of it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so far behind with bloody podcasts at the moment. I mean, I'm battling my way through I'm listening my way through the combat phase episode. I'm doing exactly that. I'm dipping in and out. I'm trying to catch an episode here and here, but I'm just looking here, and I must have I must have 10, 20 hours of heresy podcast to catch up with, and and that only goes back to just before Christmas. So it's nuts. There is so much content out there now. It's awesome. You can literally. I remember when I started listening, I think there was Imperial Truth, and I think the I Horus Boys. I think I've been listening since episode maybe 10 or 15. And that was it. That was all that was out there. That literally was your entire friggin' heresy content. And I remember getting so excited when a heresy episode would drop. Weekly from the Eye of Horus was amazing because it was like content. But now there's just so much content out there that you can literally just keep filling your ears with
crazy.
heresy.
I probably paint about 25 hours a week for work, and I find now that there's a mixture of podcasts, listening to audiobooks, and wanting to listen to music sometimes as well, because it's the only time I get to listen to music loud with having a little toddler around. It's the only time I get to do it is when he's at nursery, and I can't do all of it, so something has to give. So I get behind, so it's depending on what mood I'm in. So yeah, there's definitely a lot out there. I wouldn't want to have it any other way, but it's definitely got to the stage now where you can't just get through it all in a week. So Heresy's really, really kicked off in a big way, and I think 2017 is gonna grow it even more.
Yeah, year of the ultra fisting for Chris. There's so much good stuff. We got the year of the ultra fisting. We got Jen's the man of international heresy. We got so much stuff going on. There's good. I'm just talking to Jens. I've just realised he's in the SM Battle Reports event with me, and he's just said he's going to the Durham Raiders event the weekend before. So he is now the international man of heresy. He's globe-trotting heresy addict. So it's going to be good. There's going to be so much good stuff coming up. There's the Global 30k campaign the Eye of Horus guys are kicking off next month. So much stuff. It's going to be an awesome year. So yeah, keep your ears filled with podcasts, and there's going to be so much content. So anything else you wanted to say, Stu?
No, I think we've well and truly covered it. Hopefully, any of you genuinely new people have actually been able to take some inspiration from our last sort of couple of episodes, and any people that aren't new, thank you for listening to lots of stuff that you've already heard before and already know. The episodes have been popular download boys, so the last one was more popular than the previous, so it shows that there is some real need for that kind of content out there, and it really picked up after Christmas, which is when I guess people got some stuff. So we've had lots of good feedback, probably more feedback than we've had on any of the other shows, so there's definitely people that wanted it, but thank you listening to it, even if you're a veteran of the heresy game, I suppose. And we look forward to bringing you more of the sort of, I say regular, things will change slightly, but some more just newbie focused content in the next few shows. It's going to be an exciting year with Book 7 releasing, so we're probably going to be very, very busy boys for a couple of months from February with all the stuff coming up.
Oh Jesus, I sat down and looked at my schedule, for my heresy schedule. I've got what have I got? I got Traitor's Rage in 2 weeks. Book 7 drops the week after that. That's February. March, I'm now going to Gibraltar. April, I've got Escalation. So there should be some content. There's
going to be a fair bit, yeah. And I'll just sit around not going to any events and talking to you about yours, living vicariously through your existence. I'm gonna get a cardboard cutout of you, Stu, and take you to events with me. I'm in danger of becoming the Michael, aren't I? People won't think I really exist, so we'll have to do something about that.
You're a figment of my imagination. Now you exist because people see your painting and they know that I don't paint that well.
I'm not so sure about that.
Now, awesome, dude. Good to catch you again. Thanks for everyone for listening. Like I said, hopefully newbies, there was something, send us some questions if you got any. Veterans, hopefully you might pick something up from that. Maybe we're giving you some ideas or stuff. But yeah, the dog's now staring at me, looking like she wants to go out for a pee. So we better go.
Yes. Right then. Take care, everyone.
Catch you later, guys.